You want? What do you want? It's not that easy. What do you want? Do you know what movie I'm quoting?
No.
Nope.
Never seen it.
Okay, well, there's that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Locks Before Lock, presented by Odd Shopper. I'm Eric Lindquist. Excited to be talking the NBA streets on this 9-gamer that is batshit crazy. I think is probably the right way of saying it. There's so much injury news. That's what we're going to have the deeper dive live before lock, talking all of the DFS implications of that news. But right now, it's betting time. We're going to talk some props. We're going to talk some lines. And I got just the guy to do it. It's my buddy Jazz Raz DFS over on the Twitters. That's Ben Rasa. We talk golf a lot, but now we're talking NBA. Those are fun times. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good. Yeah, great time in the sports world. We put college basketball on hold for a little while, dive into a 9-game. A lot of news. Certainly going to have to stay tuned for the upcoming shows, but at the same time, there's some good value to lock in right now on the betting side.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane what's what could be available to us here. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just there's so many pieces of pending news later on coming down the pipeline. We don't know what these starting lineups are going to be for the early games, but uncertainty breeds opportunity. That's the way that I look at it. And Odd Shopper is going to help us do that. Oddshopper.com, the number one place you want to go to shop. Find your best bets in 30 seconds or less. We've got all 9 games here on tap. Simply click the game that you're looking for props from, or just simply sort it by best expected ROI, expected win percentage. You have an opportunity to make some money just by checking out Odd Shopper. Love playing over there, or love finding bets over there, using them on sites like PrizePicks, sites like Thrive, places where you can play props and not necessarily even just be in a state that's legalized. But if you are in one, such as Ben Rasa over there, you have an opportunity to make a ton of money, and that's what we're here to do. 9 games. Let's just get to it, shall we?
I'm ready if you are.
All right, let's do it. Give us a like button, too, as we get going. I want our numbers to look nice and nifty heading into the deeper dive. Those guys need all the help they can get, of course. So smash that like button for Ben, if not for me. First game on tap, Denver at Charlotte, 233.5 total. Denver 3.5 point favorites here. You came off of a LaMelo Ball game. We had one of those for once. That's kind of what happens from time to time. Against Brooklyn, you have opportunity on the offensive end, and he took advantage. Now, in this spot, do you see any props available for him or anybody else that exists in this game for today?
Yeah, so interesting game here, competitive. I do want to see the game. I kind of do lean to Charlotte with the points. But in the prop world, we've got a bunch of different directions we can go. You could take some peripherals. Looked at, getting things started on a weird note. Mason Plumlee assists over 2.5. That's something I can get on board with. Aaron Gordon shows up, shorting him in his rebounds and points. I'm kind of indifferent there. I would certainly not go over. I would go under if I had to take a position, but neither of them are on my card right now. So I looked at the game from a Charlotte perspective. Over on Plumlee, take the points. Anything else for you?
Not really. I mean, there's so much injury news. And when you get so much injury news on a slate, obviously I'm going to target some of those spots. I was able to get in early on a lot of pieces of news that could or could not exist with this Portland news. Plus, I always kind of look at it as a free roll. If there's uncertainty, but then there's lines still available, I like betting speculative lines where, if the guy doesn't end up playing, that's a scratch. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't harm you one way or another. It ties up that money if that matters to you, but that's the only thing that really matters. And I look at this game, Denver news, we have J. Michael Green questionable, Facundo Campazzo questionable. Charlotte news, just Gordon Hayward, he's been out forever. There's really not a whole lot I want to go crazy with. Now, if anytime that there's a decent enough line, you want to take advantage. But for my purposes, I'm looking at a lot of expected win percentages. Isaiah Thomas isn't somebody available at a number of the sites I'm on, nor is Jeff Green, Will Barton. This is definitely a du jour for like Mason Plumlee, the over 2.5 assists. I like that shout out. 68% expected win percentage, but even that isn't available for me on PrizePicks. So not a whole heck of a lot for me from this one. If I had to find anything that I was really trying to find, LaMelo Ball over 2.5 3-pointers. It's not looking great in the expected ROI area, just 8%, but 65% expected win percentage as well. That is available on a number of those sites where you can play props. So that's about the only one that I have here. Again, we have 9 games. We'll keep it moving. Anything else for you from Denver and Charlotte?
Not really. And I see chat, the Aaron Gordon props are a hot topic, and, he has been playing very well. The tools are saying under. That's why I'm kind of indifferent. I'm leaving it off the card because, he has been playing very well and the minutes are there, but it looks like there is some value if you go to short it. I'm not there. That's why it's a pass.
All right. Atlanta, Indiana, my lord. Bogdanovich, questionable again. Gallinari, questionable. We've got Indiana. I don't even know where to start. Go, get questionable every day. Dwayne Washington now questionable. You have Brogdon out. Duarte out. Isaiah Jackson out. This was a spot where you could have extracted some value. I wasn't able to, which is kind of a bummer. There were a number of props where you could have maybe gotten in a little bit early. I think there might be a couple of plays here still, but definitely from the Atlanta side for me. What sticks out for you in this game, Ben?
Yeah, same page on the Atlanta side. And the first one that really sticks out is Capella's rebounds. Big time number at 12.5. Now he's a rebounding machine, but more often than not, I think we do want to come in under this number. We have projected for flat 11, minus 128. It's a good line. You see the ROI and the X-win percentages. That's one that I think just should be on your prop card tonight. It's the right value. You're laying the right juice. Clint Capella under rebounds.
Yeah, we've seen a crazy amount of output in terms of rebounding against the Pacers, but I don't read into that as much. Plus, there's blowout potential. There's a number of ways that this gets wonky. Indiana, I don't even know who's going to be out there right now. There's a number of spots where the props aren't available to you, but I will say Trae Young, not really going to be affected no matter what. His 3-point prop is now up to 3 on PrizePicks, but it's 2.5 at a number of spots. I think he makes a great single game parlay addition along with the Capella. I do like shorting those rebounds. Those were the 2 that I had packaged together. I know that that's something that's available to a lot of you. Popular way to bet, and rightfully so. I really like being bullish on his 3-point output here. If you get Bogdanovich out, that's only going to go up another tick. So I feel pretty confident in saying Trae Young over 2.5 is just an absolute smash at that kind of a number. Only minus 170, not nearly enough over where that is available. Next game that I have on the board here, Orlando +9 at Cleveland, 217.5. Now, Orlando, they have got Wendell Carter Jr. not on the injury report. That's nice to see, but not necessarily nice in terms of trying to extract some value here. Jalen Suggs continues to be out here in this spot. And Cleveland, they're back to quote unquote healthy. Of course, Sexton and Allen have been out forever, but looking at this team, I don't find a heck of a lot that I want from this game outside of maybe a couple of plays if you were really desperate. But what do you see in this spot?
So I think the interesting guy to talk about is Kevin Love. He moved back to the bench. The minutes have been a little all over the place. We are still showing value on these overs, whether it's points, whether it's 3-pointers, whether it's rebounds. All of them were going over, and you're getting plus money on the rebounds, plus 105. So that's something you definitely want to look at. But I want to ask you, are you concerned? You've mentioned, the Cleveland team, it's just been a lot of pieces, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly where these guys fall. Do you look to the overs to Love, or do you say too much uncertainty?
I would have to see the starting lineup. It's one of those reactionary props where as soon as the starting lineup drops, you will know what to do. It's a complete stay away if Kevin Love is not starting. They just didn't start him against Chicago. He only played 17 minutes. Yep. That is not pretty. But then you see these starts 33 minutes the night before they said, hey, we know this game matters a lot for our seeding. We're going to go full bore into Toronto. He played 33 minutes and still didn't hit this number, but or he did hit over 11 and a half, I suppose. So he did at 12, but 33 minutes of Kevin Love is a lot different than 17. It's just really, really sensitive to that starting lineup. I would have my finger on the trigger on a number of different props with him, waiting for that starting lineup. It's one of the first games. So if you guys are building lineups on one side and you want to have your phone sitting there with a couple Kevin Love props, I think you really want to be aggressive in the event that he gets the start. But I get a bad feeling it'll still be Lamar Stevens. He's now played 24, 25 minutes the last two. It's just kind of a no-go for me in the event that you get Kevin Love coming off the bench here again. Can he still be viable and can he still go nuts in 17 minutes? Sure, but not a prop I'd probably want to be invested in that regard. There's really nothing for me from this game. This is almost a complete stay away. Anything else you want to react to in this one?
Not really. I think, yes, what we're going to be talking about, and certainly the shows after us, there's going to be a domino effect if certain guys are sitting, if certain guys are moved into the starting lineup. That's more actionable on the DFS side. I think unless you really have a clear line, I'm not trying to anticipate that a ton in the prop world. I would rather get that information and react accordingly than try to play the guessing game.
I would definitely agree with you. Smash the like button. We've got people kind of starting to flood in here, watching the extra half hour that we've had attached to the beginning of the show. We enjoy doing it. And if you enjoy watching us, that like button goes a long way, as well as the subscribe button. If you guys are watching content here at Awesemo for the very first time, we really appreciate that. We're giving you free stuff to kind of reward you for checking us out as well. NBA player rankings, NHL player projections today. Doesn't really get a whole lot better than that. Let's head to the fourth game we have on the board. Chicago -3.5 at New York. And this is just such a trappy line to me. This Chicago team has not been playing super well of late, but they've gotten the big three back together. They got Caruso healthy. Going into New York, 3.5-point favorites. And New York's starting to get healthier, in quotation marks, considering we know Randall and Mitchell Robinson are guys that are at least dinged up to a certain extent, but playing through it now. What do you see here from this game?
Yeah, so you mentioned this is, anytime the Knicks are involved, can be a lot of tilt involved. But Julius Randle's assist prop is at, straight even money, plus 100. We haven't projected for nearly a full assist over the 4.5. The minutes will be there, even in blowouts. Tibbs never pulls these guys. And I think this game will stay competitive. So that was one I immediately looked at. I wanted to make something with DeRozan. I looked at his 3-pointer prop, his assist prop. They are leaned over and shaded over. That's where I'd lean, but they're not currently my favorites of the game. The Julius Randle assist prop, though, I think is a very solid one. It's
hard for me with DeRozan as well. And with the 9-game slate, we can be very selective. We've done starring in on certain guys. DeMar DeRozan does carry a 31.2% usage rate this season across all situations. Zach LaVine just behind him there, 28.7. But we've seen DeMar DeRozan really put up his explosive games and really just have the path to all the usage with LaVine out. With him back, it's very difficult for me to look at anything here from the Chicago side with any kind of confidence. It feels very, very efficient to me. I think that we're seeing some value in Alex Caruso steals pretty much every single day. It feels like the over on 1.5 really jumps out. He's a guy who is notoriously good at defense, notoriously good at creating steals, averages just north of 1.7. This is a spot where he can succeed, and getting plus money on that, never hate it. 2 steals projection. I'm all right with that, but more so Julius Randle assists, I feel a little bit better about from a sports betting perspective. 23% expected ROI, a little bit less here, but we're seeing him start to create a little bit more. They don't really have the true point guard out there on the floor. RJ Barrett has really kind of taken over a lot of the ball handling duties in this offense. But Julius Randle, the assist rate has kind of stayed the same. And I don't know if he's necessarily running bad. I'd have to look at his expected assist numbers a little bit closer, but only played 31 minutes against Detroit. This game is expected to be competitive. When I project him for 38 minutes, this definitely looks like an advantageous number to me.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. You touched on the steals prop for Caruso. They're never going to move it to 2.5. So they're going to either have to shade the line more and more, or you'll continue to get value there. And I will say, just give people a little sneak peek about our premium betting package in Discord. The boss man himself, Alex Baker, on the card tonight. DeMar DeRozan's over for points at 23.5. He likes that one. So if you do want just a tidbit of what we're putting out there as part of our package with the tools and all the information, that's one that maybe we want to take a look at because he is on that over and it does grade out very well in Odd Shopper.
Minus 110?
Yeah, I believe it's around a standard line. It's gone up, as you can see. Right there, it's taken some money even on points bet, but we haven't projected north of 26, so still some value there. Obviously, that's why you want to jump on these things in Discord because you get a much better line earlier in the day.
Yeah, I love that. Minus 140, maybe looking at it a little bit different, but I'm going to add that to my PrizePicks card as well. Boss man knows some things. You want to check out these premium betting picks that he just referred to. Alex Baker, of course, Ben over there. We've got Steve Buzzard as well, the Colts and the DFS streets. These guys are all industry leaders, whether it's NBA, also NHL and college basketball, of course, for Ben over there. There's a number of ways that they are helping you make money every single day. These premium betting picks, right now, it's a really, really low number to be able to jump in. Follow at Awesemo Bets as well on Twitter. Turn on notifications, and you'll get a premium bet sent to your phone every single day. Usually that's going to come out right around lock time for the NBA slate. So check that out. Really nice offering we have going here at Awesemo. Continuing down the line here at Odd Shopper. Look at that. Look at that. See, they pulled up the card now. There we go. Jordan Klein behind the scenes, taking care of us, doing great things. Jordan Klein, are you in a good mood today? Okay, good talk. Glad we had it. No. Okay. Well, I want to make you smile on this show. I just want to put a smile on that face. No.
I've seen that movie, but I didn't know it was coming out there.
It happened. Sacramento plus 12.5 at Miami, 216.5. This is the classic example of very bad basketball team playing very good basketball team. Although very good basketball team has been playing a lot worse of late. I'm not reading too much into it other than it's fun to watch Jimmy Butler get mad. He's fake tough. That is what it is. But Ben, in the prop world, do you see anything in this one?
Not really, to be honest. And we have 9 games here, so we can be selective. I would actually, and you can structure this a lot of different ways. I may look to something like a first half line and lay these points. I think that there's a lot of opportunities at home for kind of a pseudo get right spot for Miami here. You can find, you lay 8 points in the first half, 7.5 probably out there. I think this one doesn't stay competitive. From the prop world, though, I don't have a ton to say. Met2's rebounds, sure, you can look to that, but I don't think it's necessary. I didn't see a ton of value out there. And then there's a lot of block props, the 0.5s, things of that, worth looking at, but I don't think must plays by any stretch.
Yeah, I think looking at the projected win percentages specifically, where you can find some Davion Mitchell 3-point numbers, I think shorting that is an all right way to go. Miami defense confirmed a little bit better than your average NBA defense, and they'll be down in pace here a little bit for him. Kyle Lowry back in the mix. Davion Mitchell's played really well in the absence of De'Aaron Fox, playing ridiculous minutes. But the thing is, not the best 3-point shooter that I've ever seen. Only 32.1% on the season. I think shorting 2.5. Sorry, Eitan. I know that you're the bullish 3-point guy. I'm going to be shorting these 3-point numbers where I can get them on 2.5 Davion Mitchell. Just a lot of ways that this could possibly not pan out. 1, you could shoot poorly. 2, you get a very good defensive unit. And 3, this game could blow out. 12.5, it's the most lopsided spread we have on the slate. Lots of paths where I think Davion Mitchell maybe doesn't get to that 2.5 number. It just seems a little bit too high for me. Yeah, there's some juice attached to it, but that's why you put that in play with the number of these other single game parlays. You can put those together or for my purposes, finding that 2.5 number as opposed to 1.5, where, an over might come into play. But 2.5, I do like the under 73% expected win percentage, according to OddsShopper. That is just beautiful by me.
Yeah, I think, and as Chad just pointed out, shorting Davion Mitchell's assist, that's another route you can go. I think that's not a bad idea. It ties into, again, I like the heat in the game. I think this one gets pretty out of control and pretty ugly. So not the best props, but you can still do a lot with that. You can build same game parlays off that scenario.
Jordan Klein took a nap. That's what it was. Oh, poor baby. He's just waking up and going to work. Oh, it's so cute. By the way, thanks for body bagging me yesterday. You absolute joke of a person. What a jerk.
There's that smile.
Yeah, see, I had to just bring up torturing me, and it worked. I'm the Chris Rock in this scenario. It's fine. Hi, everybody. Smash that like button for Jordan Klein and his happiness. We need to get it up there. The pursuit of happiness, if you will. More jokes. I got more jokes.
That was not bad. That's not bad.
I got a Ben Rasa smile too. Ben Rasa, Jazz Raz DFS. Go follow him there. Just one Z on the back end of it. I was trying to figure out because I was going to at you on something and I was like, oh, why didn't it come up? And it's just one Z at the second half of it. Is there a reason for that?
No.
Okay, cool. Boston +8 at Toronto, 209.5. There's like nobody. I mean, nobody of any kind of relevance showing up here for me from Boston in terms of there's nobody playing in this game. It's just absurd. They don't want to get stuck in Toronto. You're going to see this happen with teams that have to travel to Toronto. They have very strict COVID regulations. If you get Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford stuck over there, they're over there for a week and a half, and that would be bad times in the NBA streets as you're trying to procure a 1 seed here. We've seen this line move 11 points. It opened at -3 Boston. With the absence of them and now Robert Williams injured, you are going to see, +8 is now available here on the Boston team. I don't completely hate that. But Ben, what sticks out to you in this game?
Yeah, so you just mentioned this game, of course. It's been completely turned upside down, and I'm sure we'll get more and more news as we get closer to lock. Fred VanVleet's 3-pointers. You've mentioned a couple 3-point props you really like in this show, whether it's Trae Young. You mentioned Mitchell's -170, -180. This is just -125. And to me, it's up there in terms of expected ROI and win percentage. Over 2.5 threes for VanVleet tonight, I think, is a very solid. We haven't projected a full 3 over that at 3.5. When you're talking about small numbers like that, that cannot be ignored. That is my favorite prop in this game.
That's my favorite prop, I think, almost of the night for PrizePicks purposes, which I bring up a lot. A lot more people playing over there. One of our great sponsors here at Awesemo. So don't ever mind giving them a shout out here on this show. But Fred VanVleet, one of the best also in the PrizePicks NBA prop tool, which is completely free to you on the Awesemo site as well. Use that in conjunction with OddsShopper. Uses the mean and median a little bit differently in the way that they're going to go about projecting it, because all you care about is getting the win home. Really expected win percentage on OddsShopper. It's going to be just a small, minute difference in calculations, the way that those are going to work. Alex Baker explained it perfectly on Twitter to me once upon a time here, but I can't remember exactly. All I know is that the tools do the work for you. 5th best prop that exists on the board over on PrizePicks, 69% expected win percentage. Check that one out. I love the over on that. Pascal Siakam over rebounds looks like one that's grading out phenomenally well as well. 7.5. That is just way too low across the board. Really like Toronto to be able to go out and dominate here in this spot. Sure. Only +8. It's very strange to me to kind of see Boston getting as much love, but I think that just kind of speaks to how deep this team might be top to bottom, considering they're missing 4 guys from their starting unit, and they're still less than a double-digit favorite here, a double-digit dog here. Just a little fishy to me, a little bit fishy. Might have to look at taking some Boston money as well. Now that I'm talking myself into it, but we keep it going. 3 games to go, 5 minutes. We can do it. San Antonio -9 at Houston, 233. Another game where there could be a lot of opportunity in DFS. Do you see opportunity in props, Ben?
Certainly. And it's going to be with the overs on the San Antonio side. Vassell over 3.5 rebounds. That stands out as a huge value. It's no surprise that Houston's in the bottom half of almost all the rebounding metrics across, no matter what you're looking at. So you can coexist with a lot of these guys. It's not just him. You've got Murray, you've got Collins. There are other ways you can go, but I think for me, looking at these guys going over on the Spurs props is probably where I'll be landing here.
We're taking overs. How about that one?
You're playing it dangerous. 3 games in 5 minutes and you break into song. That's a bold strategy, my friend.
It's fun. I don't have a whole heck of a lot that I want from the prop streets in this one. I was looking at some other opportunities. I mean, there's just so many guys that can absorb the usage. Dennis Schroeder, Jalen Green here from the Houston side. San Antonio, I feel like they're all pretty efficient. You get Lonnie Walker out, but that's really the only piece that's missing here. We just have so many better spots. If you get Christian Wood out, we're going to jam a bunch of Şengün and we're going to jam a bunch of these other guys. And that's going to be a big piece that's going to be missing out. Lots of injury news that's kind of waiting. I would have a couple of these queued up, but nothing that I can really say right now that I really want to take in confidence, which brings us to the late night hammers. And oh my Lord, these are going to be hammers. Golden State plus 11 at Memphis, 221.5. I don't even know what to say. Memphis is playing unbelievable basketball, 17-2 in the absence of Ja Morant. Seems pretty good to me. That's why they're double-digit favorites against this shambles version of the Golden State Warriors. Do you think they keep it competitive? And any props that you're kind of extracting out of this one?
So obviously the Warriors played last night. They did not look good. This is a brutal spot. I got to pass it right back to you and ask you. So I know he's going to have license to fire early and often. Jordan Poole's 3-point prop is over under 4.5. You don't really see that outside of like Steph. We're saying go under. It is shaded towards the under at minus 150. Are you willing to pay that? You've mentioned a couple of 3-point props on this show already.
Jordan Poole has been the bane of my existence because I love him. I love watching him play basketball. I think he's a phenomenal story, a guy who's really made a name for himself in the NBA and is going to be a good piece for this Golden State team if they want to. He works actually pretty well, I think, with Steph and Clay. Just another shooter, another scorer that has the opportunity to be out there a lot. We've seen him start to just increase and ramp up that volume. He's taken double-digit 3-point attempts in the last 4 in the absence of Steph, some of those in the absence of Clay. There's no Clay here tonight. I feel if I wanted to do anything, I would short it. Just simply, you look at the math of it. What was that?
Yeah, I'm saying, no, I'm just leading. I think you have to kind of look under here, even at that juice.
36.1% 3-point percentage, but it just seems like every time I've taken these unders, and I've done it very frequently, I've gotten burned by it. Wish I had taken it last game out, but such is life. I think taking the under there is definitely something that sticks out. 70% expected win percentage, good for my purposes. 17% expected ROI. I think there's spots you can do a little bit better in the sports betting streets, but still can be a nice addition to the card. Once again, another late night hammer single game parlay type play.
Nothing on a side for me. I'll say that real quick. Feels about right. I expect Memphis to win pretty comfortably. I'm not laying 11 points though. All
right, let's get to this clusterfuck. Oklahoma City minus 1.5 at Portland, 222. Good Lord Almighty. I don't even know. We just got into word Greg Brown is now doubtful. Put him into the mix. Shea is already out. Let me just go through this here quick for you. Well, we'll get to it on the next show. Everybody's out for Portland. Almost everybody's out for Oklahoma City. What in God's green earth are we doing here?
I think the prudent move, honestly, is to pass. There's a lot of unpredictability. If we get some clarity, and it looks like we are, I think you can look to who remains. Because listen, it's the NBA. It's not like football where teams just the game ends 7-3. They're still going to put up all the points. Someone has to do it. Trey Mann would stand out as someone who's probably tasked with being very active on the OKC side. Don't mind that at 19.5 minus 105. I think you can look there, but at the same time, is this a spot like Ellaby, all these guys? I think there are cases to be made. I'm not really there though on a 9-game slate. I think I would single out Trey Mann as the one I feel most confident about.
Ellaby Wallaby Woo, an elephant sat on you. How about that? That one just came in my mind.
I don't even know. And chat, Calvin just said this in chat. There's a lot of good bets to make in a game like this if you go through and chart out the positions and whatnot. I don't disagree with that. You just need to try to make sure you're solidifying what you know. Because to me, a game like this, extremely high variance. So you have that going.
Calvin Weeks, there's a lot of good bets in this game if you go and take the time to figure out who plays which position and their rates. I just think that there's opportunity by just figuring out who the usage hogs are going to be. Brandon Williams, Trey Young. I like both in terms of different things. 3-pointers for Trey Mann, over 2.5. Brandon Williams, we've been projected for 20.5 points. He's been the starter. I will say this Chris Dunn to Brandon Williams to Chris Dunn thing is just getting a little bit ridiculous to me. I don't really know what the point of it all and why they keep doing it. But I might wait to put some of these bets in because I don't see a lot of these numbers changing between now and lock, just because they're the only guys available here on the teams. I really might, look at like a Drew Eubanks, just making sure Greg Brown gets out of there. Points plus rebounds plus assists. It's all the way up to 26.5 now at a number of spots. That's changed quite drastically from 22.5 we were to get earlier. But with no Watford, nobody else out there, as long as he's not in foul trouble, I don't see how he doesn't go over that number.
Again, well said. I think you just want to monitor it. That's why we've got these shows coming up. They're going to take care of everything for you and help you solidify your card and, of course, build those lineups.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for watching the Odd Shopper presentation here of Locks Before Lock. Ben, any final words for the people?
No, as always, hope to see you in Discord. A lot of good things going on. Thanks to our man, Jordan Klein, behind the glass. Good luck, everyone. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ben, for hanging out. Thanks, chat. Smash the like button as we get out of here. Best of luck to you all in the prop streams. We out.
Oh, I like this music. I don't get this on the PGA shows.
Doing, everybody? It is the Awesemo NBA Deeper Dive Show, sponsored by Yahoo today. And you know we're getting towards the end of the NBA regular season when the first comment that I see in the YouTube chat when I pull up the chat is, "I love Luke Cornett for the win tonight." not something we'll be seeing for most of the regular season, but that is the status of the current injury report that Adam and I are going to be going through over the next hour. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. Adam, how are you feeling about today's 9-game slate with some uncertainties, to say the least?
I think it's going to be really high scoring. It's probably going to be really dumb. It'll be fun to sweat because your guys are going to score a lot of points. But the one good thing, I think, is that we have so many teams that are resting / injured / tanking that you can at least still like sort of play ownership games. It would be different if it was just like every team was playing straight up and correctly priced, and then you just had like Oklahoma City, Portland or something. At least, you do get to choose between like Boston and OKC and Portland and Indiana and, Golden State.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, is there are a lot of value plays. So I assume that we're going to ultimately end up getting some good pivot options anyway. Either way, it's going to be a situation where at the end of the slate, people are going to be complaining on Twitter like, oh, look, I scored 360 points in my lineup and it still didn't do well. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of value players that score really well. And we have Jokic to pay up for, which is a good starting point on this slate because we have the Denver Nuggets against the Charlotte Hornets. There's a lot of value on the slate. The Hornets are not a good defensive team. And the centers they have to throw at Jokic, it's like Montrezl Harrell, Mason Plumlee. He should destroy on the slate. It's not difficult to get to him. But the only question is, Adam, is he your highest priority on the high end of the salary range?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So the only reason I hesitate is just because, the normal, you can only roster one or two centers depending on what site you're talking about, whereas you can roster more guards. So like on DraftKings, I think it is somewhat close between Jokic and DeJounte Murray, just because there's more spots to roster Murray. Similarly on FanDuel, Murray is $10,000 and you can roster him at point guard or shooting guard. So I think he's actually a bigger priority, but Jokic is the highest projected guy. He is very clearly in a good spot against Charlotte. They don't have an answer for him. And it's not difficult to get there. So I fully expect to have plenty of Jokic. Right now, looking on DraftKings at the Boom Bust tool, we have his ownership actually exactly in line with his optimal lineup percentage. Anytime somebody on a 9-game slate is $12,200 and a center and has a 26% chance of being optimal, that tells you how much value is on the slate.
Not just how much value there is on the slate, but how much better Jokic projects than the other players we have. Because it's not just Denver plays, and I'm almost always projecting Jokic considerably higher than everybody else. But, there's no Giannis tonight. There's no Joel Embiid. So we don't even have those other guys on the high end to pivot off them with. We've got DeJounte Murray. We have Trae Young. But there's a pretty big drop off in terms of star power on this slate. And if we want to play the best value on today's slate, which I assume we're going to want to, you're just going to kind of land on Jokic, particularly on DraftKings, but by default in a lot of lineups.
Yeah, agreed completely. Yeah, so right now it doesn't look like he's getting too much ownership. He's the kind of guy too where I would expect him to be considerably higher owned, like the higher in stakes you go or the smaller field you go to.
And then as for the rest of the guys on Denver, we've got Jermichael Green is listed as questionable. That's not going to matter for this particular slate. And then just looking at this team as a whole, it's a lot of pretty fair pricing in the mid-range. And I just don't think it to be necessary to get to guys like Aaron Gordon or Will Barton with any kind of regularity, just because we have so many options to get to today. Will Barton was briefly priced under 4K on FanDuel. That's been rectified. He's 5,600. Do you think anything else stands out outside of Jokic on Denver?
No, for the reasons you said. Like, this isn't a slate where I think if you get 32 or 33 DraftKings points from a Will Barton or an Aaron Gordon, that you're going to be in really good shape, because you're probably going to have guys in that, $3,500 to $4,500 range to do the exact same thing. It's just a matter of which one it happens to be. But there's so many of them available that could do that there's a good chance several of them do. So you're just going to be in a really tough spot. If those guys, one of those guys goes for 50 plus, then yeah, obviously they're going to be really good plays. But it's just extremely difficult to expect either of those guys to basically double their projection. And there's also a relatively strong mid-range from, in particular, Boston. So and to some extent OKC. So I just think it's really difficult to get anything outside of Jokic. I do think Cousins in tournaments is somewhat interesting, just because he's negatively correlated with Jokic. It's still a really good spot for him. If he gets a couple of extra minutes, he can absolutely destroy a $4,100 price tag. He's going to be way lower owned in the same price range compared to like Daniel Tice. But all of that being said, you're still talking about somebody that on average is going to play like 14 minutes. And
then talking about the other side of this game, I mean, I feel a lot the same feelings about guys like Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington that I do about players like Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, where the price is just pretty fair. And I don't think it's all that necessary to go to these guys on this slate. But LaMelo Ball on the high end, from a projection standpoint, he's not going to look as good as DeJounte Murray or Trae Young or any of those other high end point guards. But I think he makes for a decent pivot option off of them because right now we have LaMelo projected for 9% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's projected for also 9% ownership, sub 9K on both sites. We know LaMelo has upside. Wouldn't play him in a cash games. His mean projection isn't going to look the same as some of those other guard stars that I mentioned before. But do you like him as a pivot option in large field tournaments to get away from some of those players?
Yeah, he made it into my FanDuel tournament plays video earlier, and he looks like he's going a bit under-owned on DraftKings as well. He mentioned between 9 and 10% ownership, 12% chance of being optimal. Basically what LaMelo is, and I think this actually goes for most of Charlotte, because relative to salary, I pretty much think that Ball, Rozier, Bridges, Washington, Plumlee all look pretty similar. It's just that on a lot of slates, they'd be good plays, but on slates like this, it's just really, really difficult to prioritize them. But because people rely so heavily on projections and don't do a whole lot to get away from the top projected guys, you're at least getting somebody in LaMelo that has the potential to go get you 55, 60 DraftKings points. Obviously, that's not close to what you should expect. Like normally, he's going to lose pretty easily to guys like DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, but he at least has the talent and the ability to go outscore those guys occasionally at much lower ownership.
Is there anything else to talk about here from Charlotte? I think it's not really an interesting team from DFS standpoint.
Yeah, I don't find them that interesting either. I think it's kind of just across the board. Like, oh, I have a bunch of chalky plays. I need to fill in this roster spot with someone that is, at least has a high ceiling, even though they're not likely to succeed. That's kind of how I see every starter on this team.
Yeah, and then talking about one of the players that we just mentioned LaMelo Ball in relation to, Trae Young, because the Atlanta Hawks right here, they are on the road against an Indiana Pacers team that clearly not playing to win games at this point. They're just ruling guys out for rest for no reason. Who knows if Miles Turner's actually still hurt at this point, but they just ruled him out for the rest of the year.
I think I think my favorite injury report thing that we've gotten recently was they rested Brogdon for 2 games. And then the third game, they added him to the injury report for conditioning reasons. Like, we rested him the last 2 games, and now we don't think that he's capable of playing basketball.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. That is really funny. And as it applies to really, first the value we're going to have on the Pacers, but then from the Hawks side, it's not a difficult matchup at all. And the Hawks are dealing with actual injuries of their own. We have Danilo Gallinari's listed as questionable. Bogdanovic is questionable, as is. I think Trae Young looks really good. I prefer DeJounte Murray if I'm spending up for a guard, but how different would the outlook be for Trae Young if neither Bogdanovic nor Gallo play?
I think it makes him look even better if Bogdanovic is out. He looks good one way or the other. Indiana sucks. It's a good matchup. Atlanta has a 122 implied total. Young averages like 1.45 to 1.5 fantasy points per minute. Without Collins, that number even goes up a little bit more if Bogdanovic is out. So he looks really good at 10-8. The rest of the team, I think, is just sort of neutral tournament options. I really like the spot for Clint Capella. I think he should do really well on the offensive boards, get a lot of offensive rebounds, putbacks, plenty of block and steal upside for him against a G League team. The issue is just that it's so easy to go stars and scrubs tonight. It's not a slate where if you get 36 points from Capella or whatever sets off the fire emoji on DraftKings, it's still probably not helping you that much. You probably need him to legitimately go out there and get you 45 or 50 DraftKings points. So makes it tough to prioritize him. If Bogdanovic is out, minutes look better for guys like Herter and Hunter, but still I think would be difficult to prioritize them. Just would make them look a little bit better as a one-off here or there.
Yeah, and the other thing too, as we've gone through the course of the day, and you and I talked about in the injury report as well, I brought this up that while we're going to see benefits go to guys like Herter and Hunter, and I prefer Hunter a little bit to Herter, there's just such better value plays today that it's hard for me to say, hey, on a 9-game slate, I want to play, this guy at $4,900 that projects for 5 less fantasy points than somebody I've projected for it cheaper. Not even like a specific name, but there's just going to be guys that are cheaper that I'm going to have projected for more fantasy points.
Yeah, exactly.
And then anything else from Atlanta here that stand out to you? Trae Young's clearly the guy that warrants the most exposure.
Yeah, Young's the clear priority. I do think that just in general, paying attention to the ownership projection between Trae Young and DeJounte Murray on DraftKings, where there's only a $200 price difference, is worthwhile. Right now we have it pretty close, 23% going to Murray, 18% going to Young. I think that makes sense. But if you do see a situation where, Murray goes up and Young comes down, and also it's the kind of thing where, at higher stakes, I think maybe you see a little bit bigger gap there. That's a spot where you're not really sacrificing a whole lot by going to Young over Murray. And if you can get a big ownership gap, you're giving yourself a really good chance at a big win.
Now on the Indiana Pacers side, as you said, Malcolm Brogdon not able to play. He's not in shape because he hasn't been playing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which I guess now he'll just never be in shape to play again. Every day he has to sit out because he didn't play the game before.
Career-ending rest for Malcolm Brogdon.
It's great. Yeah, because then it's the offseason. Then he hasn't played for a long time. He won't be ready for the start of the season. He hasn't been playing. And he's not the only guy on the injury report because Chris Duarte is out. Isaiah Jackson's out. That comes in addition to all the players, Miles Turner, Ricky Rubio, TJ McConnell that have been out for an extended period of time. And then from a questionable standpoint, Dwayne Washington is questionable. Goga Bitadze is questionable. If they are both out, we're looking at an 8-man rotation for the Pacers, which we got last game, which really shores up the minutes for guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and then, some garbage players also, Jalen Smith, Justin Anderson. So let's look at this a couple different ways. First, if there is no Bitadze and Dwayne Washington, it's that condensed Indiana rotation. Who is the best value option?
If there's no Bitadze in Washington, I think the best value option is probably Jalen Smith. It's between him and Terry Taylor. I think you would expect Jalen Smith to start he did against Toronto. He played 29 and a half minutes there, but he did lose 3.5 minutes to garbage time. So obviously garbage time is a risk in this game as well, but you could certainly get 32 minutes or so from Jalen Smith, who since he joined Indiana has averaged 1.15 DraftKings points per minute. Similarly, Terry Taylor played 28 minutes in that game. He did get the garbage time. So, if the game's competitive, maybe you're only getting 24 minutes, but he's still only $4,200. He's averaged 0.94 DraftKings points per minute this season, has power forward eligibility, as does Jalen Smith. So I think if Goga's out, those two look like the two best values to me.
Yeah. And then if Goga's in, how would you be approaching him, particularly on DraftKings? FanDuel is always going to be different when we look at Goga. Number one, he's generally been more expensive on FanDuel than he's been on DraftKings this year. Also, that we could only roster one center on FanDuel. So even though the 5,500 price tag is a pretty reasonable one for FanDuel, when you could only roster one player at the position, it's going to be hard for me to prioritize him. But on DK, where we could play multiple centers, how would they make Goga look to you if he is end up ruled in and assuming he starts?
He would look good. I think he'd be kind of similar to Clint Capella. He'd look a little bit better because he's $700 less expensive, but I would expect that you're getting around 28 minutes or so from Bitadze if he's in. He's a good point per minute guy. He's averaged 1.06 DraftKings points per minute this season. The issue that I would have, though, is the exact same thing I said about Capella, where I think he's going to do well at his price tag, but it's not just about beating your price tag on this slate. It's about scoring a ton of fantasy points. So that would be the one issue I have, but I do think he looked a little bit underpriced.
And then anything else you want to bring up here from the Indiana Pacers? Just a disaster of a team right now.
Yeah, I mean, just a really tough team. Halliburton certainly got a high ceiling, but he's pretty far down the line of guys I'm looking to roster at the guard spots. On different slates, I'd have some interest in Hield, but on this one, I just kind of doubt I end up getting to that price point too much.
One thing I do actually want to ask you about before we move on is that Halliburton is way cheaper on FanDuel than DK. He's only $7,500 on FanDuel. Does that make him a priority there, or is it still just hey, he's a guy that's worth having in 15 to 20% of lineups?
I think it's more so the latter because, again, I haven't built FanDuel lineups yet, but I do know that, for example, DeJounte Murray is only $10,000. So, if Halliburton is relatively on the price, which clearly he is at $7,500, it's still all relative. And if you're going to get, prices kind of flattened out for guys like Murray as well, it's still going to make it so you can only get to so much. For what it's worth, he's played 481 minutes now without Brogdon on the floor, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute.
All right, let's move on to the next game. But first, guys, do us a favor. Hit the like button. Hit it like it just made an alopecia joke about your wife. Let's run these like numbers up. Let's go to the moon. Subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're at it. Next game is the Orlando Magic at the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I just don't see that much to like from Orlando, particularly because Wendell Carter Jr. is coming back. I didn't think we were going to see him play again this season after he was added to the injury report the other day and missed time with the wrist injury. But he's back, and as a result, I think this is a team just playing a deep rotation. They've got dudes like Jeff Doughton playing minutes. Admiral Schofield is in the rotation. They're trying to get everybody some playing time to kind of get a look of what they want to do for the future here, and it just makes everything unappealing.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. I saw somebody in chat earlier ask us to do the Portland OKC game first because we weren't pressed for time at the end. And having already done this show once today, we aren't going to be pressed for time at the end because you have teams like Orlando where there's just nothing. I mean, it's not to say that guys like Wendell Carter Jr. or Cole Anthony aren't capable of having big games, but they're at elevated price tags. They are far from underpriced. You could certainly argue that they're overpriced. They just don't stand out whatsoever. Even Bamba's up to 6,200. Franz Wagner's at 6,100. I have absolutely nothing from Orlando.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I don't think anything is worthwhile, but can't say the same about the other.
Sorry, just to cover my ass, because I got yelled at earlier this year when I said I had nothing from the Clippers, and then I had like 1% of Reggie Jackson. I haven't made lineups yet. I might have like 1% of Wendell Carter Jr. I'm not interested in Orlando. I would not be surprised if I have none.
Yeah, in the build I have right now, I don't have exposure to anybody from Orlando. I don't expect it's going to change. If it is, it would be one lineup with somebody. Nothing there's a priority. On the other side of the game, we do have one priority play to me, and that's Caris LeVert, who I assume is just in the starting lineup now. We've seen the Cavs say that, hey, we're making a change with the end of the season upcoming and really making a push for the playoff spot. This is Caris LeVert's no longer on a minutes restriction. They're trying to play their core guys more minutes. So last game, LeVert moves into the starting lineup, plays 36 minutes. I know the fantasy production wasn't great for LeVert, but if we could expect that we're getting mid-30s minutes from him going forward, he's just not priced appropriately on FanDuel or DraftKings.
Yeah, I agree. He's played 10 games now with Darius Garland. He's only averaged 0.78 DraftKings points per minute, but he does have a 23.6% usage rate, 18.2% assist percentage. I actually want to see, I hadn't looked earlier. I want to see what they did rotation-wise with those two. In that last game against Chicago, you got staggered minutes, but Darius Garland also played 44 minutes. So all 4 minutes that Darius Garland didn't play, LeVert was on the floor. That's good for LeVert if Garland plays like 38 minutes instead of 44. You're getting 10 minutes without Garland out there. But I agree. It's just a cheap price tag. Even if you assume that LeVert's not going to be taking games over or anything like that. We do have, even when he was on Indiana, like he was playing with Brogdon, he was playing with Sabonis. It's not like he was on a team where there was no talent out there. So I do expect that you see him get closer to a fantasy point per minute as the sample size grows.
Yeah, and then also it's a good matchup against Orlando, and you don't even need him to be a fantasy point per minute producer at this price in this matchup and at the minutes he played last game. It's a price for Caris LeVert. Let's see, what was he priced at earlier in the season when he was starting for so when he was starting for the Pacers earlier in the season, I mean, we saw salary get over $9K for him. And now we're looking at him at like almost half of what his salary was. He's just one of the better value plays on the slate. He's going to be popular, but I think deservingly so. And then
he played 21 games this year with Malcolm Brogdon and with Sabonis both active. He averaged 0.93 DraftKings points per minute. I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption because it's not like Garland is as good as Garland is and as much usage and assist opportunities as he's going to take. It's not like he's drastically different than playing with both of those guys.
Yeah, and then something else. We got people in the chat saying, oh, LeVert hasn't had a big game for a while. Yeah, because he was coming off the bench and playing 22 minutes. It's a totally different situation now that he's starting and playing extended minutes. There's a case to be made that he's going to have less usage playing around alongside guys like Garland and Mobley and, just better players than what comes off the bench. But he's still going to be a fairly high usage guy, and his price is so much lower than it was early in the season. I wouldn't look too much into recent results for LeVert because it's just irrelevant when he was playing limited minutes. As for the rest of the players on the team, where do you see Garland in relation to like Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, LaMelo Ball?
I think it's difficult to get to Garland compared to those guys just because you do have LeVert who's going to cut into Garland's production, at least somewhat you would expect. We know that Garland doesn't produce at quite the same level when he's playing with guys like Sexton or Rubio previously. Now you have LeVert. And then that price tag is really just getting up there too. So, he plays a ton of minutes. It's not to say like you can't use Garland in a lineup where you have a bunch of chalky guys and you don't want to take on Trae Young or DeJounte Murray's ownership. But I think he's pretty clearly behind those guys.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other key thing here, and you had mentioned it, Caris LeVert being in the starting lineup, that's a big hit to Darius Garland's usage when you consider that it was like Lamar Stevens starting before. Right. Sometimes it was Dean Wade starting. So just a much higher usage, got to take shots away from Garland. Any of the big men, do they stand out to you at all? Because now that Kevin Love comes off the bench, I find it to be really tricky to rely on any of these guys for big minutes.
Yeah, I don't see a lot. Like I still think Evan Mobley plays big minutes. I think Lauri Markkanen plays big minutes. But the thing for me is that the price tags have come up. I don't think I can get to Love at 6,200. Like he played, I think, 17 minutes last game. I just don't feel confident enough in his playing time. Mobley should do well, but I just don't think I end up in that price range a whole lot.
Yeah, and to clarify, when I say big minutes, I mean relative to what they were playing before. So last game, for instance, this is just kind of what we have to go off of with LeVert starting. Mobley played 32 minutes. while it's still a significant amount of playing time, he played 39 the game before. The game before that, he got in foul trouble. He only played 27, but the game before that, 36 and 39. So I do think it shaves a couple of minutes off of Mobley. It's not the end of the world, but it does reduce his upside. Honestly, there's just a lot of really strong options.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I still think he plays 35, 36 typically.
And then anything else to hit on from the Cleveland side for you?
No.
All right, let's move on to the Chicago Bulls on the road against the New York Knicks, the ailing Chicago Bulls, who got off to a really hot start this year, but they were playing the easiest schedule in the league over the first stretch of the season, and things have kind of started to unwind as they played tougher competition. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that the Bulls still are winless against top three teams, both East and the West. Not the Knicks are one of those teams, but in general, this is a Bulls team that just hasn't played well against better competition. More importantly for this slate, I also don't think there's a ton of pricing upside in any of the stars here, especially because DeRozan, Vooch, Levine, all three of them are going to be active today, which hasn't always been the case over the last couple of weeks. Is Adam's mic off?
No, I was muted. Yeah. It's just a team here where I think that all three of the main pieces look good, but none of them look like priorities. So I think that you're probably not going to get a ton of ownership going to them. Right now on DraftKings, we have DeRozan leading the way at 13%, Levine at 9%, Vooch at 6%. But they're just guys that I'll use here and there in tournaments to offset some ownership, but they're not guys I'm building around.
All right, we've got a couple super chats here to get to, and then I think we move to the Knicks side because there's not really too much to talk about from the Bulls here. First from Julio G, at Ship My Money. What stacking rules do you always or most frequently use? I assume this is an NBA question, not MLB, even though baseball's upcoming. Just
assuming we're talking basketball, I don't. I just make sure that I'm not negatively correlating players, like playing DeMarcus Cousins with Jokic, like guys that are never going to play alongside each other. But that's more, I guess, like anti-stacking. Stacking in basketball is not something I worry about.
Yeah, and I mean, something that I'll do also, and I know this question was directed at Adam and not myself, but every once in a while we'll have slates like yesterday with Boston, for instance, or, today where there's a bunch of rest games also, but Boston value again today, where I'll build lineups using my projection, be like, oh, I'm getting lineups with like 6 players from the same team. And then I'll make sure that I have it capped. So I'm getting a max of say like 3 players from a team, depending on the situation. But that's not necessarily a stacking rule. I don't think you want to make it so you have to have players from the same game in lineups, for example. Next question.
Washington out, Goga Batadze in.
So Dwayne Washington being out doesn't really change all that much for me. Goga Batadze being in, we talked about that before. Assuming he starts, I think he looks like a viable mid-range option on DraftKings. What does this do for Jalen Smith's outlook?
I think it makes him pretty tough to get to on this slate. Like, I still think there's a chance that you get upper 20s in minutes from him, but at 5,900, I just don't really think that's enough for me to want to get there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And we have a super chat here from Daily Sam. Who are the top 3 dart throws for under 3,500 high volatility? So by dart throws, I'm assuming he means, I don't know, I guess we'll say players under 15% owned on DraftKings. So who are we looking at for cheap as good contrarian options?
So I'm not sure what their ownership is, but Aaron Naismith, Sam Hauser, I think Krejci. Let me see. I think those guys are probably fit the bill. Like, I have no confidence in them, but they're really cheap. Let's see.
Yeah, Hauser's projected for 2% ownership. We've got Krejci projected also for 2% ownership. So he's also somebody who fits the bill.
Elijah Hughes at 3,200.
Yeah. Nesmith is 20% owned. So he's somewhat popular, but he's one of the value plays I got to the most in the build that I made before the show. I don't know if that's actually going to end up being the case for me when I kind of sift through it a little bit more when I'm finalizing rosters, but I do really like Aaron Nesmith today.
Yeah. So if he's going to be popular and we're not looking for popular, I guess, I'll throw out there. Who did I just say? Hughes, Hauser, and Krejci.
We've got another super chat here from My Filler Arc. I'm going to take some days off from work for rest. Then after that, some days off to recover from rest. Is Steven Adams a good pivot from Eubanks? Eubanks is more expensive than Poeltl. So is he asking about Steven Adams or?
Yeah.
Poeltl?
So I guess like I mean, Steven Adams is fine. He kind of falls into that same Clint Capella, Goga Batadze spiel where I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good game, but I think it's pretty unlikely that he puts up anything that you have to win. I think I would rather get to Pirtle than any of that group.
Yeah, and the other thing with Eubanks too is he's going to be the only big man available for Portland, but it's still really hard to project their minutes because it's not like they're trying to win games. So I know he played 36 minutes last game, and just while we're on it, what's your minutes expectation for Eubanks? I was talking this with one of my friends earlier also. I don't think it's unreasonable to project him for 36 minutes, but I also don't want to project him for 36.
Yeah, I feel like 34-ish, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of upside in his playing time, but once again, how much trust do we want to have in a somewhat expensive Drew Eubanks is on his 4th 10-day contract, where the Blazers don't even believe in him enough to give him an actual contract. Just every 10 days, like, hey, here's another 10-day contract, and then he'll probably be, out of the league at the end of the season. But in terms of those guys, I agree with you. I think that Adams and Pirtle are both pretty good pivots off of Eubanks. Talking about the New York Knicks now, we're going up against the Chicago Bulls. On the Knicks side of the game, we saw some time that Julius Randle had missed, which led to really big usage rates for RJ Barrett. But Julius Randle is now back in the picture. Mitchell Robinson, who also missed time, he is back in the picture. So we're looking at a much thinner Knicks injury report than what we've typically seen. Is there anything you still like getting to from New York?
No, I really don't. I mean, Randall certainly can have a big game, but Barrett's price tag has come up. Mitchell Robinson isn't someone I really like getting too much on this slate. I think that New York's one of the teams I probably have the least amount of exposure to. Yeah,
both sides of this game for that matter, Chicago and New York. I don't think either of them are particularly enticing. Now, the next game to hit on, it is the Sacramento Kings against the Miami Heat. Now, not only does this game have a fairly low 216.5 point total, but Miami is a massive favorite today. So the individual team total for Sacramento is really low. They're not expected to score a lot of points. Davion Mitchell has been a very good fantasy option as of late with the absence of De'Aaron Fox, with the absence of Domantas Sabonis. He's kind of carried the load for them on offense, but he's gotten to be really expensive. Do you still like getting to Davion Mitchell at a now inflated price point?
I think it's really tough to prioritize. You're talking about around a fantasy point per minute guy without Sabonis or Fox or Halliburton on the floor. He's likely to play huge minutes, which obviously is good, but it's a really difficult matchup against Miami. You expect him to produce at a below average rate. And the guard positions are just so loaded today that he's okay in tournaments, I guess, but he's not anything that I'm really building around. And that goes for the entire Sacramento team.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in chat was asking about Trey Lyles. I mean, realistically, what kind of upside does Trey Lyles have at this kind of salary, like $5,900 on DraftKings in a tough matchup against Miami, when Lyles' minutes have not really been all that easy to nail down? If he plays, less than 28 minutes or something, that wouldn't be surprising to me. And he's not the best fantasy producer in the world.
I'd much rather go to Jalen Smith.
Yeah, it's not an appealing situation to target.
Yeah, not that I love getting to Jalen Smith at 5,900 with Batadze in, but I think you at least I think if you're going to make the low probability, low owned play there, I think Smith's in the better spot.
Yeah, and then also to reference Ryan Johnson saying, is Lyles worth a cheap play? If you can't play him for cheap, where are you playing him for cheap? He's $5,500 on FanDuel, $59 on DK. That's just not a cheap salary relative to what we know about Trey Lyles. That's probably as close to as expensive as he's been since he came into the league. Anything else from the Kings here for you?
Nope. One of my least favorite teams, along with the Knicks and Orlando.
Here's how I view a lot of the teams on this slate. They're either my least or most favorite team. There's teams I'm getting a lot of exposure to, and then a whole bunch of teams that are basically not going to be in my lineups at all. Yeah,
there's a lot of teams where I like 5 different guys, and a lot of teams where I like 0 guys.
And the Miami Heat, one of the teams that kind of falls in the middle, especially because Tyler Hero is questionable, PJ Tucker is questionable, Gabe Vincent is questionable. So I think Jimmy Butler in particular stands out to me a lot, especially if Tyler Hero is rolled out. Even if Hero plays, Jimmy Butler's a little bit underpriced for this matchup. It's a good spot against the Kings. Jimmy Butler's $8,000 on FanDuel. He's $8,300 on DK. He's played well, even despite the Heat struggles as of late. And then you look at last game, okay, he only scored 24 fantasy points, but he also only played 25 minutes because the game was a blowout. If you look at some of his other minutes workloads as of late, 37 minutes against the Knicks, 41 against the Warriors, 35 against the 76ers. I'm not really concerned about Jimmy Butler's minutes right now. It's a good matchup. I like getting to Butler a bunch.
Yeah, so do I. Pretty fair price tag here. And he's the kind of guy where, even though it's kind of an awkward price point where he's not that much cheaper than, the top tier guys. You're talking a few $1,000s, and obviously he's a lot more expensive than the value guys you're going to get to. But at least with somebody like Butler, he's capable of just going and getting 50 plus DraftKings points and being a solid option. The only, I guess, risk is like if he does get 50 plus fantasy points, is Sacramento even hanging in the game? But you kind of if he gets to 50, you deal with that later. So I do think Butler looks good. He does look better if Hero's out because there's just more usage to go around. Adebayo looks pretty good as well at 8K flat. Same kind of thing as Butler, where I think that it's kind of an awkward price point from a roster construction standpoint, but I do really like the matchup and I do really like the ceiling that Bam offers.
Yeah, and then also keep in mind, we have Tyler Hero listed this question. If he's out, there's just extra usage to go around. Any other talking points for you from the Heat? Favorable matchup against the Kings?
No, if Hero's out, it is also a bump for Kyle Lowry. One thing you and I had talked about, I think it was you and me. Yeah, we talked about it on the injury report show. If Hero is out and if Vincent is out, Victor Oladipo did play 25 minutes last game. That includes garbage time, but the fact that he physically played 25 minutes, I wouldn't mind taking some shots at him if Miami's shorthanded. He's 5,600 and not getting ownership.
Yep, it is possible that we start to see minutes close to 30 for Victor Oladipo. Is he still good? I have no clue. We haven't seen him play extended minutes, but I don't definitively know that he's bad either. And I assume that the field is not going to get to him at all. He's probably going to be 2% owned at the most.
Agreed.
And nothing else really here to talk about from the Heat. The next game is going to be a big one.
Gallo's out.
Gallo is officially out. Let's see. Anybody... Did we get no update on Bogdanović yet? Oh, there we go. Bogdanović, game time decision. Gallo is out. Anything change with you from that news? I think the Bogdanović one's much more important.
Yeah, I think the Bogdanović piece is much more important. Gallo doesn't impact Trae Young's rates, really. Bogdanović does when they're on the floor together. I wanted to go back and see, when's the last time they played? The 25th. I think it was... No, so TLC played 16 minutes there. Gallo was in that one. The last game Gallo was out was against the Pistons on the 23rd. TLC started, played 22 minutes. I don't think on this slate you're going to really care about TLC, even if he plays 26 or 28.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've seen some starts from TLC, and it doesn't generally isn't appealing, especially on a slate of this size with a lot of value options. And a lot of the value options coming from this game, the Boston Celtics at the Toronto Raptors. Now, first, starting on the Toronto side, just because we just got a super chat about it from Cheyenne DeWald. She was asking if Barnes, do we like Barnes if Van Vliet is out? Fred Van Vliet isn't on the injury report, so it's not something I'm concerning myself with. If he gets ruled out, so be it. But as of right now, I don't see any reason to think that. He didn't start in the second half of last game, but the arena caught on fire, and it was a long layoff. They didn't want him to ramp up and go back out. I don't think we have to be concerned about anything that happened last game. Total fluke when the arena catches on fire or the ceiling drips. So no real issues to me with Fred Van Vliet. And then the other part of the question is, do you like Daniel Tice? So let's talk about all this value that's on the Boston Celtics right now. And first, for me, yes, I like Daniel Tice. Do you like Daniel Tice? And then who are the best value options for Boston? Yeah,
I do like Daniel Tice. I think that he's likely to give you upper 20s in minutes. He's not a bad point per minute guy. 3,700 is fair. The only thing I don't like about Daniel Tice is that he's center only, but beggars can't be choosers. Still a pretty good spot for him. I think that Peyton Pritchard looks like a very good value option at 3,900. He's averaged over a fantasy point per minute over the last couple of seasons without Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum on the floor. I expect him to get close to 30 minutes tonight. Aaron Naismith likely gets around 30 minutes. He's not a very good point per minute guy, but he's 3K flat. He's small forward eligible, which is always really useful. We mentioned earlier that, if you wanted to get away from the Naismith ownership, you could take a shot on Sam Hauser instead. He doesn't project quite as well, but certainly within his range of outcomes to beat Naismith. So I like those guys as value. But then you also get, Derek White at 5,300. That's someone that averaged over a fantasy point per minute when he was with San Antonio whenever he played without DeJounte Murray. Pretty similar situation here. I expect him to play well over 30 minutes. Marcus Smart, since the start of last year, is at 1.12 DraftKings points per minute without Brown or Tatum. His usage rate gets up to 25%. He has like a 30% assist percentage. So I like him. Grant Williams is still even a decent value option. The only thing I don't like about Williams is that his salary actually already came up because of playing minutes with Horford out previously. So I think that any of Smart, White, Williams, Tice, Pritchard, Naismith, Hauser are good plays. But in terms of, I guess, prioritizing them, I think Naismith, Pritchard, and Tice are my favorite values. And then I like Smart and White quite a bit.
Yeah, and also because in case people don't know the Celtics injury report for today, Robert Williams out probably for an extended period of time, torn meniscus. And then we have Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They are all resting. Tail end of a back-to-back for Boston. It opens up all kind of playing time here. Aaron Nesmith is somebody that I like a whole bunch. Same with Peyton Pritchard. Hard to get away from Derek White. I assume I'm going to have at least 2 Celtics players in almost all of my lineups today. What is the most amount of Celtics you're willing to get in any one lineup?
I'm capping teams at 3. This is the kind of slate where if it were like a little bit shorter slate and teams were healthy, I wouldn't mind going higher than 3 on Boston. But given that we have so many teams with a million good plays, I just kind of think of it in terms of like, let's say I already have Marcus Smart, I already have Derek White, I already have Peyton Pritchard. Do I really want Aaron Naismith in that lineup too? Or would I rather just have like Krejci or Keon Johnson or whoever else, So it's, and, similarly, if I have White, Pritchard, Naismith, Smart's still fine, but I think I would rather just have a different 6K guy. There's plenty of them on this slate. So I expect to cap Boston at 3 and do the same thing with OKC, Portland, every other team.
And then one thing I'm going to add about cash games, I think it's reasonable to have 5 Celtics in DraftKings cash games. And
I
then
do agree with that.
Yeah, and then just like I think Nesmith, White, Tice, Smart, and Pritchard are all really strong cash games. I would, as of things stand right now, I would play all 5 of them in a cash lineup.
So I will say, I would not have 5 guys in cash on 5 Boston guys in cash on DraftKings. I'd be okay with it. Like I'm not setting rules against it, but I'm getting to a lot more of the OKC game.
Yeah, well, that's another way to look at it too. Like Teo Maledon, somebody else who I'd consider a must play in cash games, not to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Like my top projected lineup has Naismith and Tice, and then it's got 3 guys from OKC. My next highest projected lineup still has 3 guys from OKC. It has none from Boston.
Interesting.
It has 2 from Portland.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. Anything else you want to mention from Boston here? You could really make a case to play almost any of these guys just because there's so many players out for Boston. Everybody in the rotation is underpriced today.
Yeah, and I do actually. I'm looking now to see if it's changed. So ownership has come up on Boston since I did the tournament plays videos earlier. I kind of thought that it would. I was gonna say I thought this team might actually go a little bit under owned since they're not showing up quite as much in my optimal lineups as the other teams are. But it does look like we have them projected for quite a bit of ownership now, which is fine. They deserve it.
And we have some other super chats here to hit on. First from Michael McKinney. Who are our 2 favorite pay up options and 3 favorite values for FanDuel cash? First, in terms of pay up options specific to cash games, Jokic and Murray, I think that's pretty clear. They're also projected to be the 2 most popular plays on FanDuel by a pretty wide margin. I just lock them in for cash games. And then in terms of value, I would say Maledon, Tice, and LeVert. Do you feel any differently about any of that?
I agree with those guys. I think that I'd probably throw in Keon Johnson at 3,800, Ellaby, and then like a lot of these guys look similar, but Keon Johnson and Ellaby I like quite a bit.
Yeah, pay up options. I think that's a no brainer. Jokic and Murray are the 2 best pay up
Murray
options for cash games. And then value, there's a lot of places you could go, and a lot of them are going to look pretty similar. I'd kind of let ownership guide it if you're in between a couple of guys, because if there's 2 guys you think are fairly similar, just go with the guy who has more ownership, because there's a good chance that in cash games, then you'd rather have the guy who's like 70% owned in cash games than 10%. And that's where I think our ownership projections could come in handy. On the other side of this game with the Toronto Raptors, we did get that question about Fred VanVleet. No concerns there. Last situation, what happened last game, totally fluky, not replicable. The one guy that is on the injury report is Gary Trent. But if he's out, does it change that much from you for Toronto? This game does have a pretty low total, even though we have all the value on Boston. It's more just because players are out, not because we're expecting this to be a barn burner or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't change much for me. Chris Boucher would go from, I think, pretty much not playable to a decent tournament dart throw at 5,600, but nothing I'd feel too confident in. Boston probably suffers a bit defensively too, being without 4 of their main starters. Like Smart obviously still really good, but it's a situation where I still don't expect this game to be played at a particularly fast pace. There's a lot of really good plays on this slate, and Toronto across the board is pretty much correctly priced, I think.
A couple more super chats to get to. First from Goody. Thoughts on making a group of Jokic, Murray, and Young in rules and set must play to at least 2? I would not be doing that. I mean, naturally, you're just going to get to a lot of these guys with projections. But the issue is if you do that, then you're probably not going to get any exposure to guys like LaMelo Ball, who I do think makes for a good pivot option. You're going to end up with probably at least one of Jokic, Murray, or Young anyway in most of your lineups, but I wouldn't make a hard and fast rule for that.
Yeah, I'm going to naturally get to those guys a lot, and a lot of lineups, you don't have at least 2 of them. But my like general thought on groups and rules is I want to make as few as I can, because I want to let projections and my process in general dictate my decisions without me just like jamming stuff in. Like if for whatever reason my projections aren't giving me lineups with Jokic plus Murray, there's probably a reason for that. And I don't want to just decide like, yeah, well, screw everything that I rely on, I'm just jamming these guys in. And then like you said, it also prevents you from seeing like all of your other options. You know, it's like, yeah, I really like Jokic, I really like Murray, but I could really like a team that has like Jokic saves some money to LaMelo and gets me this other like contrarian piece as well. So I'm going to naturally get there a lot, but I don't like the idea of setting groups that like artificially force your projections to do things.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially in NBA, where ultimately the projections are going to dictate a lot, because you could just end up on suboptimal plays that way by forcing your lineup build to do certain things. We've got another super chat here from D Owens 89. It's a 2v2. On one side, Murray and Oladipo. On the other side, Ball and LeVert. As things stand right now, it has to be Ball and LeVert. As much as I like Murray on FanDuel, Oladipo is only in play if Tyler Hero is ruled out, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I agree. I also think you can probably find somebody better than Oladipo that would make me like the Murray side more.
We have a super chat here from Jeff Balistreri, but there is no question in it. Jordan, did he follow up with a question somewhere else? No. All right, Jeff, if you have a question for us. Here it is.
Followed up.
Yeah, there it is.
He said,
sorry, my question. Adam mentioned people rely on projections too much. What are some ways that you make players like LaMelo that don't have a great mean projection pop up more in lineups and Fantasy Cruncher? Good question, Jeff.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it. I'll say from the beginning that this is the kind of thing that you want to be using like lineup rewind to play around with and figure out what works for you. But I think 2 ways that you can do it, and they kind of go hand in hand. One is just using more randomness. Like if you're building a lot of lineups and then narrowing down to which lineups you're going to play, you can use a lot of randomness, and it's just going to give you, a bunch of different combinations of lineups, because it's if you're using more randomness, it's going to choose LaMelo Ball, for example, more frequently than if you're using no randomness. Another way you could do it is with exposure caps. Like, if you if you're making a bunch of lineups, you can set the exposure caps to like whatever everybody's projected ownership is, or projected ownership times 1.5, or whatever, just cap people at 40%. Any of those things are fine, just to get it to give you lineups that have other players, and you're going to go through and figure out which ones you want to play based on whatever, ownership projection, whatever you're looking at. But there's no there's no clear way. Also, if there's just one player that you want, you can use, the thumbs up for that too. I typically don't use that just because I don't want to arbitrarily pick guys. But it's, for me personally, I use randomness to do it, but I also have a lot of things built into my process that make it so I'm not doing anything too crazy once I build those lineups. So I don't want to say just jack up the randomness and play a bunch of shitty lineups. But yeah, it's kind of randomness or exposure caps will typically get you there.
And one thing I'll add to that, for me, I almost always use 20% randomness in Fantasy Cruncher. I don't know if you have a specific number you use. That's what I've always found works for me best, though.
I use, and it depends on what I'm using it for too, but or what size tournaments I'm playing. But yeah. I'll usually use a standard deviation. So standard deviation divided by projection times 200, because Fantasy Cruncher is weird with how they do their standard deviations.
All right. That was a much more specific answer than what I gave. But I'll go into Fantasy Cruncher and generally set it around 20%. By the way, we just got Heat news. Gabe Vincent, PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero all play. Now there's no need to consider Victor Oladipo with all of those guys in. Any other takeaways from Vincent, Hero, and Tucker all playing?
No, I still think Butler and Bam look pretty good, but it does take away some of that other Miami value.
Couple more super chats here. First from Jack, Şengün if Wood sits or Eubanks at power forward on FanDuel.
Şengün if Wood sits or Eubanks forward. What are their prices?
Eubanks is 6,300 on FanDuel and projected to be the most popular play outside of Jokic and Murray. And Şengün is 5,900 projected for 2% ownership. So,
yeah, I mean, the ownership would come up if Wood's out, but I think it's close. Like, Şengün's the better point per minute guy. I think that you can count on Eubanks to play more minutes, so it ends up being really close. I would say that I would lean in tournaments to whichever one is lower owned.
Next super chat here, Murray or Young with Roby or Jokic with Keon or Wiggins. All right. So Murray or Young, I prefer Murray to Young.
Same.
Then with Roby or Jokic with Keon or Wiggins.
I'm assuming that's Aaron. So I would say Keon over Aaron Wiggins and Murray over Young. So we'll say Murray, Roby versus Jokic, Keon. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I probably lean. I'm so scared what OKC is going to do now that they have 3 centers, even though they only have 9 bodies. I would lean Jokic, Keon, but I don't feel very strongly about it.
I prefer if I'm close between two things, it's almost always Jokic for me, just because of the kind of ceiling he has that nobody else has. So I'm going to lean with that side.
Yeah, it's that, and it's that. Even though neither team has many options in terms of who they can play, I feel a little bit more confident that Portland's not going to jerk around Keon's minutes than I do that OKC is not going to do some dumbass like 24 minutes to Roby, 12 or 14 to Sar, 10 to JRE type thing.
Yeah, and we just got news that Gary Trent will play. Doesn't really change anything for Toronto there. Also, John Brown said, can you guys answer super chats in the next show? Yes, we aren't going to be here, but there will be guys answering super chats in the next show. I think it's Adam and it's Lofty and Josh. Is that right? Jordan. Yes. Okay. So yeah, leave them super chats. They'll be able to answer them. Let's hit on the next game here. San Antonio Spurs at the Houston Rockets. Starting on the Spurs side of the game, DeJounte Murray is a great pay-up option on DraftKings and on FanDuel. He's been crushing it on a points per minute basis ever since Derek White got traded. Not that he wasn't before, but now he's especially been crushing. Great matchup against Houston Rockets. Like getting to him, like getting to Jakob Poeltl. Nothing else really stands out to me here, though.
Yeah, me neither. I think Poeltl and Murray both look really good. It's a really good matchup. Murray's at over a fantasy point and a half per minute without Derek White this year. I think he's clearly one of the best pay-up options on DraftKings. I think even more so on FanDuel, where he's inexplicably $10,000. Just really, really tough for him to fail there. Jakob Poeltl's in a really good spot. He has the same issues from a roster construction standpoint that I mentioned with Goga, that I mentioned with Capella, but I think he just projects a little bit better than those guys. I will say right now we have Poeltl's projected for 14% ownership. Capella's at 6%. That's the kind of spot where, if you do have a lineup where you like all the pieces and you're going that range at center, like just moving Poeltl to Capella and hoping Capella wins is one pretty easy way that you can kind of differentiate your lineup.
And then moving on to the Houston side of the game, Christian Wood is questionable. Dennis Schroeder is questionable. Eric Gordon is questionable. If we get some of these guys out, we already got the question about Şengün before. Şengün's almost always going to look good with a lot of upside if Christian Wood is out. I wouldn't consider Şengün if Wood plays, but I'd definitely be looking to get to him if Wood ends up being ruled out. Other than that, I like Kevin Porter, especially a little bit boost going to Kevin Porter if there's no Dennis Schroeder or Eric Gordon, as is, I think Kevin Porter makes sense anyway. What do you like here from the Houston side?
If Wood is out, then I like Şengün. If Wood is in, you get a really high ceiling there. Like he's a guy you can use as a pivot to say Bam Adebayo, but I think it's tough to prioritize him. I'm with you as far as I think Şengün's a little too expensive for me to get to if Wood is in, but he's going to look really good if Christian Wood is out. Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green both look fine, but more so like as pivots to Marcus Smart that don't project as well as Smart, but that are also going to be a hell of a lot lower owned. If Schroeder's out, I'm assuming you're just getting more minutes for Josh Christopher as the backup. If Gordon's out, I'm assuming you're getting more minutes for Garrison Matthews, but I don't think either one of those guys are likely to be particularly useful on the slate outside of maybe just using them as dart throw pivots to somebody like Aaron Naismith.
Yeah, totally agree. And something else I think you guys should be checking out. There's a lot of value we have in DFS. Something else that you have value in. breaksofgod.com. What if you caught the break to potentially net a couple $100,000 or less than $100 investment? We have great news because breaksofgod.com is the place to catch that break. These guys are doing card breaks, and you could do it for really cheap price. And the first card break you do with them, you get 30% off. You use the link in the description box below. Also, head on over to breaksofgod.com/830, breaksofgod.com/830. That'll get you 30% off your first break. Also, make sure to follow them on Instagram at breaksofgod. All right, couple more games to talk about, and also more super chats here to answer. First, from Sleepy Joe, minutes for Nesmith and then Levert or Mann on DK. First, I personally prefer Levert to Mann. As for Nesmith's minutes, I gave him. It's also going to depend what the starting lineup ends up being for Boston, because I really do not know what the starting backcourt is going to look like. For now, I gave Nesmith 26 minutes though.
Yeah, I think around upper 20s, maybe 30 for Naismith makes sense. I'm assuming that the starting lineup is going to be Smart, White, Naismith, Williams, and Tice, but yeah, I have no idea. I don't remember what the questions were.
Levert or Mann was the other part.
I prefer Mann.
Okay. I prefer Levert as of right now. Let's see. Where do we have the ownership right now? Right now on DK, Levert is projected for 17% ownership. Mann is at 31. So I do have Mann projected slightly higher, but I think it's the ownership discount that's getting to me a little bit more Levert right now.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I think in terms of projection, it's Mann.
Next super chat here from Tyler Sappington. Trey, Maladon, Poole, Pritchard, or Young, Halliburton, Lee, Pritchard. All right, so Peyton Pritchard's in both sides.
Yeah. So it's Maladon, Poole versus.
Oh wait, Trey Young's in both sides also. So it's Maladon and Jordan Poole versus Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lee, I assume.
Yeah, that would be it's got to be Poole Teo for me.
Yeah, Poole Teo also. And we'll talk about the Golden State Warriors right now because it is the next game for us to talk about. Warriors against Memphis. And there are a bunch of guys out for the Warriors. Tail end of a back-to-back. They're trying to get themselves healthy for the postseason. So Steph Curry, he's been out. In addition, Klay Thompson's out. Draymond Green is out. Otto Porter Jr. is out. Gary Payton II, the mitten, he is listed as questionable to play. So that opens up even more minutes in the backcourt if he's not able to go. I think maybe you could make a case for Damian Lee if Gary Payton's also out. As of now, I just think there's better players to get to. But I think Jordan Poole is somebody who's going to have to soak up a whole bunch of usage today, with one kind of caveat that he has been priced up a little bit at this point in time. Are you still looking to get to Jordan Poole at the elevated salary?
In tournaments, yeah. I don't think he's really showing up in cash games, but you're getting a ton of opportunities for him with Curry and Klay out. Should lead the team in usage, should be probably north of 30%. So still a really high ceiling for him. You get a bump in usage for Andrew Wiggins as well. Not a price tag that I really love on Wiggins, but still has a high ceiling. I think as far as value goes, though, Kuminga, Looney, Payton, if he plays, all look like good values. Kuminga's got about a 25% usage rate without Klay or Curry on the floor this year. He's likely to play around 30 minutes with no Porter or Green. Looney probably plays upper 20s at 4,300. He's another value center you can get to. If Gary Payton II plays, he probably is giving you upper 20s in minutes at around the fantasy point per minute. If he's out, you're probably looking at more minutes from Moses Moody, maybe Damian Lee. Neither one of them are great point per minute guys, but certainly reasonable dart throws here and there.
All right, we have a super chat question from Paul. He's renamed it a super hat question, though. Kind of like the idea of a super hat. Super hat. Could you guys touch on who you'd prefer in single entry between who? I don't know between which players.
Yes, I don't know. It's obviously really hard to answer in terms of just all players because it's just going to be the guys that project the best, and then you're going to change a little bit. As far as the part directed to me, I still play single entry. I've actually started playing it a bit more since I got back from the live final. I worked on some stuff that I think made me better, and I've actually been playing more.
All right. So that is the answer to our first ever super hat question. But it's the same guys. I like paying up for Murray and Young. I like paying up for Jokic, and then value plays from Boston and OKC. I think that's the optimal way to build most lineups today from a points per dollar perspective. And all right, we are all caught up on super chats. Let's hit on the Memphis Grizzlies side of the game. Of course, they're dealing with injuries of their own. Memphis Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark. These guys are both questionable to play. What do you think happens to the front court minutes for the Grizzlies if neither of them are available?
If neither is available, you could certainly get more playing time for Steven Adams at 6,500. You don't necessarily have to. Like, you can just get, Xavier Tillman playing behind him. But you would also, I think, probably get Kyle Anderson starting, although you could get Conchar or Williams, probably Williams in the starting lineup. So either way, I think you probably get more minutes for Anderson at 4,500, which could make him look like a decent value. Williams doesn't do enough point per minute wise for me to really want to get there. If Conchar happened to draw the start, he would look pretty good, but I don't think that he'd start. So I think that you would get more usage also for Bane and for Brooks. Both of their price tags have come up a little bit so that it's difficult to prioritize them one way or the other.
Yeah. And I mean, with Bane also, because we had this discussion the other day when we were doing a show and somebody's like, oh, you have to play Bane at whatever price because he had a big game the game before. Like, fine. He was good on a points per dollar basis last game, points per minute basis. He played 28 minutes. He scored 36 fantasy points, but he's so expensive now. It's just more than what he should be in this situation. Like, there's not a spot where I'd ever look at Desmond being like, oh, he should be a 9K player or anything like that. So I think the salary for him just doesn't really lend much upside, particularly on a slate with so many good points per dollar plays. If Jaren Jackson Jr. is in, he's somebody that I'd have interest in, particularly on FanDuel. His salary on FanDuel just has not really caught up to what his upside is without Ja Morant. So 6,500 for Triple J on FanDuel, 1% ownership. How would you like him as a contrarian play? Because if he's in, that's probably my favorite contrarian play on the slate for FanDuel tournaments.
Talking about Jackson?
Yeah, 65.
Yeah, I think the ceiling's really high. Like, without Morant, you're talking about 1.28 DraftKings points per minute. I think when Brooks is on the floor, he's Jackson's got a usage rate around like 28%, I think. So I do think he's got a really high ceiling if he's in. And I think you mentioned it earlier. It's not like this is the same Golden State defense that you normally see either.
Yeah, it's Golden State without all of their best players. So we're looking at a bunch of backups. And Gary Payton's a really good individual defender, but he also might not play today. All right, final game on the slate, and I'm happy we put this one off to the end because I have not been looking forward to talking about it. The OKC Portland game, where just everybody is out. These teams are going through just desperate measures to not win. Starting with OKC, Ty Jerome, Derek Favors, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Kenrich Williams, Darius Baisley, Mike Muscala, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all out tonight. None of them are going to be active. Who are the players from OKC that you think are going to ultimately end up playing the most minutes with the most usage?
So I think it's Pokusevski, Mann, Theo Maledon being the top guys. The one caveat is that OKC doesn't have any incentive to win games. We already saw that disaster of a game against Orlando where, like, you still got 30 minutes from Trey Mann, but he just didn't play the fourth quarter of a somewhat competitive game. They just went with their backups, but they don't have many bodies. They have 9 guys available today, so I don't think they're going to be able to really do too much there. And you did get 34 to 35 minutes from them last game in a competitive game against Denver without Giddey or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the floor this year. Theo Maledon's at 0.86 DraftKings points per minute. Trey Mann is at 0.93. Pokusevski's at 0.97. These are all guys that are just a little bit underpriced for probably 32 to 34 minutes against a really bad Portland team. After that, you still have a $3,900 Aaron Wiggins who probably plays around 30 minutes. He's averaged 0.66 DraftKings points per minute. So sure as hell not excited about him, but could certainly play enough minutes to get there. Similarly, I mentioned him earlier, but Krejci at 3,500, 0.68 DraftKings points per minute. Not excited about that, but he probably won't be too popular. Lindy Waters is at 0.8 DraftKings points per minute. He's in that same boat. And then Isaiah Roby, I think you could see upper 20s from him at 5,200. He has the potential to be a really, really good play tonight. He's at 0.8 DraftKings points per minute in the 269 minutes he's played without those guys. The only concern I have is if they don't play Jeremiah Robinson Earl at the 4, then you might be seeing 48 minutes split between 3 guys, which is really annoying. But I think more often than not, you're probably getting at least 24 to 26 minutes from Roby.
If there was ever an NBA game that warranted ending in a tie, it would be this one. The Portland Trailblazers injury report. Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard, Trendon Watford, Yusuf Nurkic, Greg Brown, doubtful, consider him out. Didi Loazada, Joe Ingles, Nasir Little, Eric Bledsoe, Josh Hart, Justice Winslow. All of them are out. More players listed out for Portland are actually listed as in. So it's going to be a condensed rotation. They have one big man. Drew Eubanks is the only player taller than 6'6" they have active today. with all this in mind, who are you going to prioritize on a very, very shortened and thin Portland Trailblazers roster?
Yeah, so I think we're down to 8 players, right? 1, 2, yeah, we're down to
Blevins, Hughes, McLemore, Dunn, Ellaby, Johnson, Williams, Eubanks, 8.
Yeah, down to 8, assuming that Brown doesn't play. So you're getting a lot of minutes from these guys, and as uncomfortable as it is, this is one of the most appealing teams on the slate because for the most part, they're not too expensive. Chris Dunn's at 4,400. Even if, like, I assume he's going to be playing around 30 minutes. He's not a bad point per minute guy. Ellaby's probably playing like 36 or something. 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,100 on FanDuel. Keon Johnson's going to most likely play a lot of minutes here. Since joining Portland, Johnson's at 0.69 DraftKings points per minute, but at 3,900 and without really any other high usage guys other than Brandon Williams on the floor, that's still a pretty good price tag. Ben McLemore at 4K is okay. So priority wise, I think value, it's Dunn, Ellaby, Johnson standing out. And then you're looking to like Ben McLemore, Elijah Hughes, and maybe a little bit of Blevins as like your lower owned, kind of hope to get lucky with the rotation type guys. And then the only 2 guys on this team that are not really cheap are Brandon Williams and Drew Eubanks, who both should just play huge roles here in a good matchup. So I do like a $6,900 Brandon Williams. I do like a $7,100 Eubanks because I assume they're both going to play a lot of minutes, and Eubanks is around a point per minute guy. Williams is around a point per minute guy. So Portland, I think, is actually top to bottom the most appealing team on this slate.
All right, that is going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're signing up for Yahoo for the first time, do it using the link in the description box below. Get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Stick around. Live Before Lock is next.
least I don't have to flip the audience off today.
That was a great intro. Accidental. I just DM'd you something, by the way.
Oh, this should be good.
No, you'll actually you'll like this. It's good. It's encouraging.
Yeah.
Encouraging. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Live Before Lock show. Here we go. Presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm Dave Loughran. Joining me is Josh Engleman. Find the man at Josh Engleman on the Twitters. Got a lot to talk about today. 9-game slate. Happy to have you guys with us. And as Josh, someone had pointed out to me today, I screwed up on the strategy show. Really should have said, really should have said, slap the like button, right? I mean, I missed an opportunity, got called, not even called out. They just made it first. And I feel like, what a missed opportunity, right?
Yeah, I mean, and like at this point, you should be incredibly used to screwing up on shows from lack of skill and talent. But on that one, yeah, it's just on you. Once again, I clearly would have made that joke.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy. A great host. No, but for real, hit that thumbs up. We got a long way to go till 1,000, but I think we can make it happen. Josh and I are hanging out after the show as well. And Matt L says, Josh, that purple shirt is hard AF. That's funny. Not because you said that, Matt. There's some history to that purple shirt, though.
That's why it's on right now.
Yeah. One day my wife was like, oh, Josh looks good in purple. And now it's just used against me frequently.
I got to be worried here. I don't want to do anything negative towards your wife. I think we've established that you're allowed to just smack people uncontrollably no matter what. So
yeah. And she ain't giving this up for some purple shirt, fella. Maybe because I'm just an awful guy, but not because of that. Yeah. But anyway,
well, we'll see.
Free
Team Chris Rock.
Are you team Will Smith?
Free Chris Rock.
He handled that like a boss. Let me tell you. I'm not saying like the way he got hit, but just the way he handled himself. The way he handled himself.
He should get Will Smith's Academy Award for that performance.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what else? Apparently it was pulling the lowest ratings ever of any Oscars until that happened. And it jumped from like 9 to 15 million.
Yeah. It's like the Stephen Bonner Forrest Griffin fight. All of a sudden people are like, yo, something interesting is happening.
Yeah. It was staged, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
At first I was like,
I can't believe people think this is.
No, I meant this one. I'm kidding. Because it was very uncomfortable though. Very uncomfortable. Was that not uncomfortable?
I mean, watching it after the fact? No, not at all.
What, you were watching live?
Well, of course not.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that was uncomfortable while you're watching it live, but once I knew what happened, then I saw it. No, it wasn't uncomfortable. Not to me.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
It should be uncomfortable to Will Smith today.
What's that?
It should be uncomfortable to Will Smith today.
Yeah. He was a Scientologist, right? I mean, that'll do some things.
Was or is. I don't think he can get out and still win an Academy Award.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan was a Scientologist.
Klein?
Yeah, like milk tea, a lot of odd stuff. They're not allowed to do drugs or alcohol, though. Learned that from Leah Remedy. But anyway, we got 9 games. We got a lot to get into. If you're hanging out after the deep dive, welcome. If you're just jumping in, maybe you're coming home from work and sitting down to watch a little basketball info here. We got you covered no matter what. So hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so yet, almost at 75,000 subs. Wonderful stuff. And also, if you want to join, hit that join down below. You get the free super chats each month. You get the custom emojis, the sweet badges. Look, Malachor iced up with the 12-month badge. And of course, you got a whole lot of other stuff. Like we'll prioritize your comments and Discord, along with our Discord member, all that other stuff. Anyway, let's get into this one, man. And Josh and I are hanging out afterwards. We'd love to have you stick around with us for the half hour after the show. We'll talk ownership. We'll look at a bunch of different stuff and we'll have some fun with it.
This chat, there are a lot of not smart people thinking that this was just like obviously staged, as if Chris Rock and Will Smith need to have a phony physical altercation on the Oscars. These are not guys that need attention. They are two of the highest ranking guys in their craft.
Yeah, I mean, the Oscars needs attention, but that's besides the point.
What are we talking about here?
I think it probably, what you need to do, Chris Rock needs to host next year and just light up everybody.
Yeah. You mean like he's done before?
Right. Yeah. Or just bring like Ricky Gervais back, because that was like,
that's the Golden Globes, but also yes.
Okay, I know the difference between none of these, and I care. Yeah. I don't care to. But Ricky Gervais slayed it, man. And the uncomfortable looks on everybody's faces. Was it Tom Hanks that looked like he just wanted to curl up and die?
Yeah. It was fantastic.
I lived for it.
Will Smith has 61 million followers on Instagram. You think he's like, oh, you know what would be a great idea? On the night of my biggest accomplishment, I'm going to get into an altercation with Chris Rock. I know. This dude was getting his basically lifetime achievement award that day, and now no one gives a shit.
That is a good point. I just think Will Smith's a loon.
Yeah. Well,
right? Like that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what's that conversation like the rest of the, I don't know. I mean, obviously there are some additional things going on in their day to day that most people like to point out. I don't care at all about it. I don't know. I can't imagine that one. I don't get it.
I just think the whole thing's funny.
I don't think it's funny for Chris Rock. By the way, I'm going to say it right now. I think that Will Smith should be charged. I understand that Chris Rock is not going to do that. It should just happen anyway.
Yeah.
You cannot go onto the stage and assault someone. That is insane.
That I agree with, but I'm glad Chris Rock did not file charges.
Agreed. He shouldn't have to. The fact that it is aired fully internationally to millions of people should just cover it and be like, oh yeah, we don't need to. Chris Rock doesn't need to
this isn't the
anything.
Strategy show. Later. After the show, we'll have some fun. Let's talk a little bit. Because this is, and someone said that it's just a distraction for all of us talking about. I agree, but at the same time, it's funny and it makes for good conversation. And
we talk about way dumber garbage all the time. At least this one's in the cultural zeitgeist for right now.
Last week we went heavy on like the Big Papi scandal out there in the Dominican. So anything can happen here on Live Before Live, mostly afterwards. But it's time to talk a little bit of basketball. The good thing, Josh, and look, can we get some crazy breaking news in the coming 45 minutes? Yeah, 100%. But we do have a lot of what we were waiting on. I mean, most Golden State players, Clay, Dre, Porter, if you want to throw them in, those guys were already doubtful. They've been ruled out. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Horford, they've been obviously Robert Williams, but that's actually an injury. They've all been ruled out. We know what's going on with Portland because they only have 8 now anyway, so you can't really do much else. OKC, we know Bazley's done for the season. I could go down the list, just a laundry list of names that have all, and we actually got all the info that we wanted right now, at least for the time being, on the Miami Heat, who had a bunch of questionable guys. So there's not a lot of pending news at all right now. I think the biggest ones would be Christian Wood. That's huge because Şengün then becomes just smash spot again. Yeah. Şengün is Christian Wood is a big one. And I think that Memphis front court is going to play a huge role if those guys, especially if both of those guys get ruled out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just got a piece of news. I don't know if you said it during this first gist, but Bogdan Bogdanović is available. So that's a piece of news from Atlanta that we don't have to worry about.
Thank you. Danilo Gallinari out. I didn't mention that. Yeah. So Bogdan's in, you said?
Bogdan is in.
Okay.
So we have that piece of news, at least at this point. I've had him in the entire time, so that didn't really change anything for me.
Yeah, he's been a game time decision a lot lately, and he plays through all of them.
Yeah, like obviously the Wood decision is huge. Sort of.
Oh, wow. Shea Brissett just got ruled out. So that's another one for Indy. That means they only have 8 now.
Okay. I mean, the Wood news isn't like that huge. We just know to play some more Şengün. There's just so much value on the slate already that like, it doesn't matter all that much. There's only so many places you can pay down, and we have better value options than him already. So
just lock Şengün in.
Yeah, not even that. It's not even necessarily that. Like, he's a great play, but there's a lot of great plays today.
The only reason I say that with a little bit more confidence is because he has power forward eligibility on DraftKings. So the opportunity cost isn't nearly as bad or nearly as high if he was center eligible only. The power forward eligibility is massive tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And like on FanDuel, he's got the power forward eligibility too. That helps out big time because we have infinite money. So Jokic looks exceptional. It's really easy to get to Jokic when there's value everywhere. If Şengün didn't have the power forward eligibility, he wouldn't be as interesting today.
I agree.
Just because of everything else we have going on. Again, clearly, still a really good option. But, you know, he blends in today. It's a different, it's a completely different slate. This O'Shea Brissett news, on the other hand, is wildly important.
Very important. Manny C, free 12-month super chat. Laffy said it. The Oscars needed it. Yeah, they might not have known it, but they needed it. No one would have been talking about it at all. No. If this didn't happen. Corey Bauer, I'm pressing charges if Josh's hand slaps me with the shoe.
That's pretty good.
That's really good. I mean, that's thank you, Corey, for the super chat. If you said that for free, I would have hoped that Jordan would have found that and just sent it to me anyway, because that is good stuff.
What do we got here now? Wood, Gordon, and Schroeder are all out.
Whoa. All right, here we go. This is kind of fun though. I can get into this. Let's work our way through this, Josh. First off, I would have loved to have tried to get some bets in here, but I'm not going to have time. Not doing a show. No. So Pacers available. I'm just going to, you know this, but I'm going to read them off for the audience. And then let's talk about this rotation.
Go for it.
Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Justin Anderson, Jalen Smith, Goga Bitadze is in. He was questionable. He's good. Kiefer Sykes, Lance Stevenson, Terry Taylor. That's who you have. And 3 of them are bigs. Well, Terry Taylor, kind of whatever you want to call
him. How many guys did you just name?
8. That's all they have.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I don't, who the hell? Oh, for some reason, I deleted Taylor's minutes and I was like updating it to like make it a bigger number. And I was getting a total of 7, and I was just assuming that I already had Taylor. And I was like, who the hell is supposed to have minutes here? Like, I couldn't figure out what the 8th guy was, but it was just because I accidentally deleted Taylor's minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah, because mind you guys, it's not, excuse me, it's not just Brogdon and Isaiah Jackson and even Duarte out. Dwayne Washington was ruled out as well. So now you lose Brissett. Yeah, it's big. So the front court still, like the center rotation pretty much stays intact, right? Can't you still get, if you're looking at just minutes from Goga and Jalen Smith, like you get 48 between them.
Taylor's going to play a boatload as well, something in the 28 range. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to right now, as placeholders, I went 28 to Goga, 30 to Jalen Smith, 28 to Terry Taylor. And now I'm still trying to make some adjustments to figure out who the hell else is going to get the rest of these minutes.
Because with Brissett, you're voiding probably 34 minutes with the amount of run he's been getting lately.
You want anywhere from 32 to 36, or anywhere from 30 to 36, but like 30 plus pretty easily.
Yeah, he played 38 last game in a 40-point loss.
Yeah. Like I've got I still have 8 minutes left over, and I don't know who to give those minutes to. That's when it starts to get ridiculous. When you've already loaded up everybody.
How much are you giving the Lance?
I just bumped him to 22, and like that's slowly but surely going up.
Yeah, I feel like he could play more than that.
I mean, even at 24, he's not all that interesting. Justin Anderson isn't on FanDuel, by the way, or at least wasn't earlier today. And wasn't as of like 2 hours ago. So I assume that's not going to happen now. He is on DraftKings, so that's different.
Do you
DeAndre Hunter out?
Oh wow. So Gallo and Hunter?
Yeah, let's
I said we weren't going to get much news.
Yeah, well let's keep breaking. Let's finish on Indy quickly if we can. I guess I'm going to go back up another minute on Halliburton and Hield.
Well, you know what I'm wondering? Do Jalen Smith and Goga play some minutes alongside each other?
Oh, they have to.
They have to, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. They are not. Jalen Smith is not just playing at the 4 or at the 5. So I don't think he can.
So then, will we get minutes for Terry at the 3?
No, I think that you get for the most part. I think that you are going to have one of Goga or Jalen Smith on the floor at all times. So I went 28 Goga, 30 to Jalen Smith. So far, 28 to Taylor. There's still a lot of playing time left over at the 4 either way. You can give all 3 of those guys 30 minutes and you still have 6 minutes left over at the 4-5 combined.
Let's do the starting lineup. And look, I don't mean to belabor the points here, but this is the important stuff. Like, this is, especially against an Atlanta team, a bad defensive Atlanta team that what's up?
I don't know how much the starting lineup matters any longer for this one. I mean, it's going to be obviously Halliburton, Hield, Goga, Justin Anderson, and somebody, whether that's Jalen Smith, Terry Taylor, or Lance. I don't think any of it matters.
I do, and I'm going to tell you why. If Jalen Smith starts alongside Goga, I think you're getting 35 minutes from it. Like, I think you're projecting Jalen Smith for a whole lot more than 30 minutes. If he starts,
I don't even think it matters. I just don't think it matters.
Really though?
Yeah, like at 30 minutes, I already think he might be the best play on Indy.
Okay.
So I'm already just going to get a shit ton of them regardless.
Yeah. I just think if you get one of him or Terry Taylor has to start.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if you tell me that Lance starts, I'm not going to be like shocked by that.
No.
But I mean, my assumption is it's Jalen Smith. If they want to try to keep it a little bit cleaner, it's Taylor. I think both of those guys are playing like 28 plus minutes no matter what.
All right. So let's go through the rotation one more time. Are you still leaving minutes on the table?
I have 2 left over right now.
Okay.
I've got Halliburton at 36, Hield at 36. I gave Sykes 22. He's not going to matter no matter what. Justin Anderson at 34, Lance at 24, Jalen Smith at 30, Goga at 28, Terry Taylor at 28. I'm probably going to go like 1 more minute to Smith, 1 more minute to Taylor.
It makes sense to me. I think
that puts me at 240 and then I'm done. And
I mean, I very much think that is close to what we'll see. Yeah. And I think if it's close, I wouldn't be surprised. And not that you're projecting it for this, but I wouldn't be surprised like Halliburton 40, Buddy Hield 38, just some crazy stuff here, but that doesn't really matter.
Sykes is irrelevant. If he played 16 because they went heavier to Halliburton and Hield, like that
doesn't matter. Exactly.
Right. And they already look really good. Like Halliburton's 7,500 on FanDuel.
Yeah,
he's 9,200 on DK.
This team just became interesting. And you know what? So did Atlanta though, because you're taking Hunter off the floor and you're taking Gallinari off the floor. Let's not forget that Gallo with John Collins out was playing significant minutes. Look at some of the playing time he was getting. 30, 41, 30, 40, 30, 41, 30, 37. I mean, minimum, Josh, you're getting 30 minutes from Danilo Gallinari, voided from this rotation. And then you've got DeAndre Hunter, who's, sitting anywhere between 32 and 34 minutes himself.
Yeah, I think we're about to get a bunch of Jalen Johnson today. I already had him getting some playing time. That has now changed to a lot more playing time. So obviously Trae Young is going to start. Obviously Clint Capella is going to start. Herder, if you told me it's Herder, TLC, Jalen Johnson, that would make some sense. They seem like really firm into bringing Bogdanovich off the bench always. Whether or not that changes today because we're losing more and more people, that's fine. He's started once since the beginning of March, and that's basically his only start since back in January. So if we're going to assume that Bogdanovich doesn't start, I think we have to assume that Jalen Johnson is. When we had no Gallo, no Lou Will on Wednesday, he played 25 minutes. We also see TLC, like he's very clearly stepping into minutes with no Gallo. By the way, Jalen Johnson probably not all that interesting. You're going to have to give him a shit ton of minutes to make it land today.
This is a 7:00 game, so we should get this. We should get this pretty soon. We should get the starting lineup soon. But I mean, the Hawks are 10th in the East. They're still 3.5 up on the Hawk, or sorry, 4.5 up on the Knicks. But you still want to win this game. Wouldn't be surprised if Bogdanović doesn't start, but plays 35 minutes, maybe 36 minutes off the bench. Let's wait. Let's wait till we get the starting lineup. We just got a question from in Super Chat, or sorry, in our Discord. Does this make Trae Young a better play than Murray now? Well, let's just talk about what it does for Trae Young, because I don't think Gallinari and Hunter being off is a huge difference for Trae Young. I mean, I can look, but you're not you're not gaining significant usage here.
Now, like, I don't want to say this because it's going to sound ridiculous, but you can kind of make a case that it makes it worse.
Just from an assist rate standpoint?
Yeah, like I don't. Like you're putting. He's not changing. Like he's still going to be out there. Trae Young is still going to shoot whenever he wants. Gallo's not a huge usage guy. He's kind of like a neutral usage guy. Jalen Johnson is not going to be like I don't expect a gigantic change for Trae Young. No. I think he's already absorbed that change with no Collins.
I agree.
And Hunter is not that guy either. So
no, but both Gallo and Hunter are 38% 3-point shooters. Like, they're the type of guys
you want that spacing.
Exactly. Yeah. That isn't to say though that if Herter's out there, you can't get spacing. So that's the good thing. I think it's probably a lateral move, and it doesn't make much of a difference.
I think it probably increases Trae Young's ceiling. Like he could, it could just turn into more of a screw it, I'm going to do everything day. But especially against Indy, which, he should carve up. But like, I'm not making like wholesale adjustments to his rates. I think he looks good and looked good either way.
God, I wish Herter wasn't almost 6K.
Yeah, he's pricey.
That's too much, man.
It's incredible that we're 28 minutes in already. Live Before Lock's a wild show, man. You have not had this experience really, where all of a sudden like a couple of things in news come in and it
gets nuts. We also started, I think, like at 5:07 or something.
Another reason why I love when the deeper dive just
or 6:07
sweet time.
Yeah. And by the way, if you guys were wondering, we just scrapped the sidebar for the most part because this is why. There's no point. We just got to hit on the important stuff. That's all. Got to hit on the important stuff.
Speaking of the important stuff, do you have a read to do, or are we going to break down Houston first?
See that I was going to segue that into speaking of important stuff, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Jordan, throw it up on the screen, baby. Josh knows all about important stuff, like the fact that you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description, or the one that Jordan Klein is seemingly throwing in the chat right now. All you got to do is sign up over at Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports using the link. If you haven't done so yet, deposit $10. They'll give you $10 back in free credit as well. So washes out, clean slate, and you get a $90 Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription. You have to enter a paid contest though. They'll email us and then we'll email you. So they'll give us your email. We'll hit you up, get you into our premium Discord, get you set up with the free subscription, whether it's basketball, baseball coming up, hockey, MMA, esports, what else? NASCAR, PG, whatever. Any contest out there that they've got, we have content for it. Not just for Yahoo, but for every sport. We got you covered through and through. It's totally free for the entire month. And it's not like you're going over there to play at some crap site. Yahoo has great payout structures. They have the lowest management fee rake out there that you're going to find among all the big sites, all of that stuff. So check it out. Enter a paid contest after you deposit $10. Like I said, they'll give you $10 back in free credit, and you can get in $90 value, everything free for the entire month. Over at Awesemo. And be sure to join our premium Discord too, because you got the office hours with the pros answering your questions, helping you better your game and all of that wonderful stuff. So sign up and wait for an email from us. And if you want to expedite it, email us at support@awesemo.com first, and we'll try and speed up the process. All right. What's up? What you got? Did you have something lined up?
No, I'm working my way through the Houston rotation now.
All right. Let's talk about Houston. Let me see if we got any news rolling in here. Oh, wow. I just want to throw this out there real quick because it doesn't have to take up a ton of time and it's a tough matchup. But Alex Len is out. you might see like 35 minutes from Damian Jones tonight. I might be a stretch, right? But you could see.
I don't know. They have 95 centers on their roster, or at least they did.
Yeah, but it's mostly just him and I don't know. Dame, I'm not. He is, and his price has come up too. But he played.
I mean, I agree. He's going to play a lot,
right? He has to.
Yeah.
He had. I don't know if you were forgetting, but Rashawn Holmes is done for the year as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Tristan Thompson's gone. Bagley's gone. They don't have the same
depth. Yeah. And Damian Jones played 30 in his first start for Sabonis, and then he played 25, but he was in foul trouble 3 separate times. So I think he was probably pacing 30 in that game too. The question is like, where are we at on the matchup here? Because I think he easily gets north of 30 minutes unless something crazy happens.
Seems about right to me. I don't have a huge disagreement there. I haven't gotten to Sacramento yet. The only reason that he might not is because it's Sacramento and they don't care. Like they could just as easily go to Metu at the 5 and call it a day type stuff.
I'm just throwing it out there because I don't think Alex Len being out is insignificant.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Okay. Allen Alexander, Young or Murray? It's still Murray for me, but I don't know. They're both in really good spots.
It's still Murray for me.
Yeah, but I don't think you can really go wrong with either of them.
That's not an indictment on Trae Young.
Exactly. Teddy Wayman, favorite play on PrizePicks. Teddy, I haven't looked, but we have a free PrizePicks tool, don't we? Yeah, we got a free PrizePicks tool over at Awesemo. Jordan's going to throw the link in there for you. It gives you all of our projections and the best ones out there, created with projections from some very sharp people, including Awesemo himself. Tyler, Keldon Johnson, Şengün, or KJ Martin, Siakam on FanDuel. You're the FanDuel guy, Josh. Keldon Johnson and Şengün, or KJ Martin and Siakam.
I mean, I haven't thought about Pascal Siakam or Keldon Johnson at all today. So my first thought is neither one of those groups of people. Keldon Johnson, 8.9, Toronto. The Siakam side.
Okay. The Siakam side.
Yeah.
Thank you for those, Jordan. And then who are the 3 lock plays on Yahoo? First, let us wait to see what these ownership updates look like first before we get into that.
We probably need a projection update too.
Well, they're both going to come in at the same time, right?
So, right.
But all right, Houston, right? Yeah. Let's get to Houston here. So no Christian Wood, no Schroeder, and it was Eric Gordon, right? Also out?
Yes.
How many minutes do we want to give to Şengün, especially considering that he had been playing some alongside Christian Wood lately?
I gave him 28.
Okay.
In 8 starts this season, he's averaging 27.5. Now, some of those were like power forward also starts, but I think 28 feels pretty correct. I gave, I think he can go upwards of 30 and feel pretty comfortable with it. I don't have a huge issue going to 30. I think 28 is perfectly acceptable at this point. If I go to if I go 29, I think that's fine too, but I don't want to go too crazy. Like they don't have to keep playing him. You just want him to.
Yeah.
Like the last time that Wood missed, he missed a 3-pack in early March. Şengün played
30, 40, and 20.
30, call it 35. And
that was overtime, right?
Yeah.
And then 20.
So, I'm going to switch to 29-19, giving Bruno Fernando the other minutes there. Doesn't even have to be him. They could go to Kenyon Martin or something. It's not like it's a huge issue for Houston to just do random nonsense.
I wonder. I'd have to go back and look to see why he only played 20. That seems real. Oh, he had he had 5 personal fouls.
Yeah.
What was the date of that, Josh? The 11th?
The game that he played 20?
I think it was the 11th.
The 11th, yeah.
So he started and caught his second and third wow. So there was 7 minutes left in the second, and then caught his 4th and 5th, never came back in. So he lost a lot of time in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 20. I'm pretty comfortable with 29.
Yeah, 29-30 sounds about right. I still think
that's not too crazy, right?
No.
And he looks like a great play, and I haven't even touched any of his rates yet. And I assume they're about to go up with no Christian Wood.
Yeah, I mean, I think anywhere around like 29-30 seems to make the most sense. Update here: Pacers are starting Halliburton, Hield, Anderson, Taylor. Okay, so Taylor and Bertans.
Okay,
so
that's a little scary that they're just going to use Jalen Smith as the straight backup. I just don't know why they would.
So if
he just played like 28 or 29 minutes, so it's not like he needs to not play that many minutes again.
But I think it's very good for Terry Taylor. Like,
agreed.
Very good for Taylor. I think Taylor, an easy 30 plus could be in store today.
Well, the question is, do you think he closes?
Why wouldn't he?
Because you play Jalen Smith.
Yeah,
but the question you need to ask is, does he close over Jalen Smith, or does he close over Goga?
Yeah,
only two of those guys are going to close.
Of course, but it's just hard to say because this team isn't playing for anything.
Agreed.
So it's like, do you just close with your starters?
Maybe. Depends how much they care about Terry Taylor over Jalen Smith. That's something we can't really know.
Yeah, it's true. Here's this though. How about this? Terry Taylor, the last competitive game they had. So Jackson was actually out, but Terry Taylor closed over Batadze. So it could be Jackson Taylor closing lineup for sure.
Oh God, what's this going to be? Iggy's going to, okay. Andre Iguodala playing 16 minutes. We just got the tag from News God, and I was like, oh my God, I can't take another gigantic piece of news. I'm good, man.
Hawks,
leave me alone.
Wait, okay. I was actually going to propose this idea. Didn't think it was going to happen, but it is. Hawks are starting a Trae Young and DeLon Wright backcourt.
Interesting. Okay.
It's not crazy but then you've got TLC at the 4, Herter at the 3. So this means one thing too. Bogdanovich is going to play a shit ton of minutes as the first guy off the bench.
Yeah, depends on if you think Kevin Knox is going to play too, or Jalen Johnson, I guess, in this case, or both to a degree. Warriors, I gave Bogdanovich 32 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's low. You think 32?
Yeah.
Okay. Gary Trent is in. Warriors starting Poole. This is from a few minutes ago. Peyton, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Looney. Let's get through the rest of Houston and then talk a little bit about the Warriors here.
Okay. From a Houston perspective, I'm going to hop back over to them now just to double check. Okay, so I feel pretty comfortable with what I have in for Houston right now. So I guess we could talk about it. Not popping as much as I would have thought. It's more of a DraftKings play than a FanDuel play. Kenyon Martin is 3,600. I think he now looks good, not great. I think the best option on Houston is very clearly Şengün across both sites. I think your second best option is probably Kevin Porter Jr. across both sites. And then I think like Jalen Green, Kenyon Martin, Jayshawn Tate all look similar. Nobody that I need to just like go out of my way to have.
Okay. Someone asked Keldon with a super chat, Keldon Johnson or Aaron Wiggins. If you're just talking straight up, Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, it's got to be Keldon Johnson by like miles.
Yeah, we've got him projected 8 points higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not even a question.
No.
But if we're talking priorities, where do you put Şengün now among the rest of this crazy, ridiculous slate?
Not all that high.
No?
Just like eyeballing my chart quickly. In my boom combo, he's probably like in the 15 to 20 range overall.
Okay.
On DraftKings. Like he's 5,900. All right, here's a legitimate question for you. These are the exact same price, the exact same positions.
Would you know what?
Jalen Smith or
he probably meant Keon Johnson. Sorry. I'm just thinking about this now. He just put K Johnson. I'm thinking he's got to mean Keon Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, maybe give a little bit more information than just Johnson.
There's two. He put OKC with the A Wiggins, but no POR.
There's also no site, which also doesn't help. So,
right.
Yeah. Hash that out
but
later.
Yeah, he might. Oh, chat said it too. I didn't see that, guys. But yeah, he must mean Keon Johnson. Look, we're moving at hyper speed here. Yeah, give us a little context.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets for not answering that question because I don't. There's a lot.
I'd go Keon Johnson though.
Would you rather have? Now let's go to a real question that actually matters. $5,900, power forward center. Would you rather have Jalen Smith or Şengün today? They're the exact same price and position.
Definitely Şengün for me.
Okay, so it's Jalen Smith for me by a mile.
See, the problem I have with Jalen Smith is he's not starting, and I still think he probably gets decent minutes. But I think Şengün, if we're talking tournaments, and I want to see what ownership looks like as well. We've got them projected like within a point of each other right now. Yeah. I think for me is the Şengün ceiling in a spot like this where we've seen him play 35 in regulation, spot starting for Christian Wood is a lot for me to like because I'm confident that he's going to start. But
by the way, ignore everything that I said when I said by a mile. I thought that I had already changed Jalen Smith's minutes, and I haven't. I have them as basically equals now.
Okay, so so I'm fine with it. I just like the ceiling on Şengün here as a projected starter. We think he starts.
Sure.
So, okay.
Shit. Now I don't remember what I was doing. Oh yeah, Golden State.
Well, you're fine. I'm just going through some news, making sure. All right, Gary Trent is in.
That was hectic, man.
Yeah, this is intense, dude.
Yeah,
this is
the
intense.
end of the season really makes you want to just like never play DFS and you hate all your life. These are the times where I'm just like, is it baseball season yet?
I know.
Because this is when Spags is like, yo, I really like Tim Quarterman today. He's my favorite guy. And then 5 minutes later, Tim Quarterman is cut.
Did that actually happen?
Yeah. Spags started a show advocating for Tim Quarterman. And before the show even ended, Tim Quarterman was released from the team.
That's fantastic. And it's not even Spags' fault because a lot of times those guys, like Brandon Williams could get cut. Yeah. Not today because they don't have enough players, but that could happen with a Brandon Williams type,
Yeah, I've Spags' contact information in my phone. His contact picture is Tim Quarterman.
That's amazing. Okay. And by the way, anybody asking about DeLon Wright, I want nothing to do with DeLon Wright starting alongside Trae Young.
No, I don't think he's going to matter unless his price is like stupid broken. I haven't looked at it yet.
It's not though. It's 4,300. Like that's not all that crazy.
He's not all that interesting in comparison to everybody else.
We
got enough going on for this.
Oh, league. Let's talk about the Thunder and Blazers. This is just a total shit show.
Can we not?
We have to. Rock Latex said RIP Spags. Now Spags is still here. He actually moved like 45 minutes from me from California. We're close now. He's in the Delco area.
New father as well.
New father. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Welcome to hell, pal. I'm kidding. He's doing well. And he still joins us on the contrary for football. Yeah. And he said he still tunes into Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock as well. So
that's why I don't know if he's playing DFS right now. I doubt it, but I had to mention the Tim Quarterman thing. Well, if he's watching, I'll get the text. I know that much.
He might not be dead, but by now he's dead inside. All right. OKC. Let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jordan throwing our free tools up on the screen. Nice work there, fella. NBA player rankings are free. NHL player projections are free. Josh, did you also know that if you use the promo Trout or just go to awesemo.com/promos, you get the entire year for MLB 25% off, $80 straight off the top, sliced right off the top.
What more could you possibly want?
I don't know. Our baseball tools are legitimately awesome.
They are. I've been very, very happy to use them in the past, and I assume that happiness will move forward into this particular season.
top stack tool, top pitchers tool, ownership. And I'm assuming we're just going to have more as well. We got something else cooking in the works that very excited to share with you guys sooner than later. You'll love it.
Oh, Spag's in the house right now.
I knew it. But yeah, use the promo code Trout, save 25% off the entire year of MLB, $80 discount. Hold on, dude. I'm going to fucking read.
It doesn't matter, man. We got major news. Taylor's not starting now. Kiefer Sykes.
25%
we have
off.
14 minutes. You can plug this whenever.
Once you get to April
starting over Taylor.
50% off. Go ahead.
Sykes is starting over Taylor. That's massive news.
Okay. Yeah. Now I like Jalen Smith even less.
Yeah, I guess.
How could you not? Now you've got one of those big three front court guys in the starting lineup. Like Sykes might only play 20 minutes, but now I don't know.
I just don't like anything now. I hate it all.
25% off through April 1st. Now just all right. So yes, Matt said he forgot the ad read. If we could repeat it one more time. Josh, let me just start from the beginning here.
Go for it now. We needed to get that news out.
I'm kidding. That is significant though. So that's your updated lineup. So you have Anderson at the 4 then, for whatever that's worth, All right. Can we talk about OKC and Portland, whether you want to or not? And what's up, Spags? Glad to have you in the house, brother. I knew he might have been lurking somewhere. Spags is not a member. Spags hasn't joined.
Wait, a member of YouTube?
Yeah, son of a bitch.
I mean, neither am I.
Yeah, but you're also a son of a bitch.
That is a true statement.
Yes, it is. Also, Josh, just do me one favor, and then we're going to get through the next 12 minutes with as much possible information as we can. Give me a solid call for likes to get us north of 800.
I mean,
just do your best work.
We've got 3,100 plus people in here. Yep. And I'm going to be honest with you. As long as Lofty's not trying to do reads, we are killing it with hitting you guys with all of the news that is coming in right now. I'm even trying to give you guys more when I can. It's nuts. A simple click on a thumbs up icon is all we ask. It costs you absolutely nothing. That seems pretty reasonable. Yes. Yeah. That seems pretty reasonable on a day where we are getting truly wrecked with news over and over and over again.
Solid. I mean, if that can't get you to take 1 second out of your day, out of your sad, pathetic evening. Just kidding. Jordan's eyes. Jordan, you're the only one that takes me seriously with this stuff. You're the only person. Josh just looked at straight face like this was normal.
I mean, to me, it was.
Come on. So you just take it too far. Clearly joking. We love you guys. I say it every single day. Without you, we don't do these shows. Jordan, we gotta loosen you up, man. You gotta,
drink a couple of vodkas.
Yeah, just start swigging, bro. We're almost at 900 likes. These guys know we love them. These guys know.
These guys know we tolerate them.
Kickstart said, "You bags of shit better at that." That's what I'll go with next time. Kickstart. All right, just go straight. Full Metal Jacket. So
never saw it.
Really?
No.
It's not. It's not. Doesn't hold up in my opinion.
Take off your pants and jacket.
Chat's gonna have some fun with that. It doesn't hold up. The Platoon does, but whatever. All right, we will have 30 minutes for some good talk after this. If you were just to look at OKC and Portland right now, Portland, I don't see how they don't have 8. I just don't see how they don't have 8. And then SGA's out for OKC. Baisley's now done for the season. You, of course, have no Lou Dort. You have no Ken Rich. I'm not going to go down the whole list and waste our time, but you get what I'm saying here. Both of these teams just completely starved for players.
Yeah.
How do we approach like Pogačevski and Trey Mann and Isaiah Roby and Teo Maledon and then everyone on the Portland side as well?
That's a great question, and I would love to answer that for you in a second. Okay, that is still crunching correctly. Sorry, we're coming down the home stretch here, and I'm making sure that I didn't have a setting wrong because
no, you're good.
I don't. Okay, how am I approaching Oklahoma City? Very differently than most people are going to be approaching Oklahoma City because it's a completely different discussion point on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel. These guys are wildly different across both sites. So Poku looks great. Both sites, going to be a guy that I get to. That one seems pretty easy to me. On DraftKings, though, I think you can pretty easily prioritize Trey Mann and Teo Maledon. If you're asking me to pick between the two, I probably prioritize Maledon a little bit more just because he's $1,300 cheaper. These guys are, in my model, both 0.8 fantasy point per minute guys normally. Maledon's been playing better than Mann as of late. I got them both at a fantasy point per minute for this game. So I'll take the guy that's slightly cheaper. It just seems a little bit easier to me. I think you can basically play everybody except for JRE and SAR.
Chad Freeland, what's up, Chad? Using that 10-month super chat. We should have done this from the beginning. We'd have people at like 3 years. Would have been cool. Eubanks or Şengün on FanDuel. What's Eubanks' price on FanDuel?
Let's find out. Nothing good. Yeah, 63 for Eubanks. What was the other one? Şengün?
Şengün's 59.
I'd rather have Eubanks.
Okay. Yeah. As ugly as it is, it's a very good matchup, and Eubanks is getting run. And Trendon Watford's out.
Right. Yeah, to me, it's hard for it to not be Eubanks.
How many minutes are you giving Eubanks today?
I think I gave him 33. Yeah, 33.
Yeah, and he could play more. Obviously, you're talking just projected minutes, but with an 8-man rotation, who the hell knows?
I think that he is going to be tasked with playing as many minutes as he can possibly play.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. It is remarkable that we're not even in April yet. And, Watford was $7,300. Eubanks is 71 on DraftKings. Just ridiculous prices. If you guys have any questions, hit us. We still got a little bit to get to. 931 likes, still 3,100 people watching. Hang out with us after the show as well. We would love for that 30 minutes, Josh and myself, go until 7:30. Usually a lot of you guys stick around. So if you're not doing anything, we'll have some fun. Get into some ownership details as well, and just a little box score watching because we got a bunch of 7 p.m. games. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. This is important. Boston. No Jason Tatum. No, this is one that I didn't think was as pressing because they hit on a deeper dive. We already knew who was out. But are there any guys that you really, really love from Boston today?
Derek White. I think he just has to now play like upward over 30 minutes.
Okay.
He's a functional NBA player. And to me, they're going to be way more likely to give Derek White minutes than Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, Sam Hauser, like whatever other idiots you want to try to pick here. So Derek White, to me, is the guy that takes the biggest bump. And it's mostly just a minutes thing. I think he looks really solid. I don't really care too much about the rest of Boston. I don't think it changes Marcus Smart all that much. He's good, not great, as far as I'm concerned. Daniel Tice, I don't really trust his minutes. He's just center eligible on DraftKings. We have infinitely good center plays already. I guess Peyton Pritchard could be better off. 3,900 on DraftKings, clearly a good value play. Doesn't have to play a ton. If they go to if we just get a lot of White, Smart, Grant Williams, I think Neesmith probably plays 24 to 28 minutes. I just don't see a ton here for Boston. It's not all that appealing. It's certainly not a good matchup. So,
what I was wondering too, on a crazy slate like this, where you've got a ton of these value guys that are kind of in that 5K range as well. What are you setting your uniques at on Cruncher?
I mean, for me, it's always 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's also because you're crunching a lot more than just a couple hundred lineups. I think that's probably important for someone that's crunching 150 to know that you're probably crunching 1,500.
Yeah, it's all of that sort of stuff. You shouldn't listen to me and make a change to what you're doing. You need to know what every one of those settings means. I made this analogy earlier in our Discord, and I'll make it again here. Figuring out, asking me what kind of uniques I have or randomness is basically asking me how much salt and pepper do I want on my steak. It's a personal preference. You got to know what those settings do to generating lineups, and that is your biggest impact. I don't really need the uniques because I have, whether it's player caps, randomness, other assorted settings in FC, I can get to where I need to be without having to change that uniques mark, especially on a 9-game slate.
Right. Who are your favorite value plays today across the board?
Sheesh.
I know it's a tough question, but we're coming up against it. And I know there's probably some people right now that are, struggling here with with a 1v1, in that value category.
Well, set me a threshold.
I'm going to go a little bit different than usual. Usually I'd be like 4K and below, but I think we can go like sub 6K today. So not really value, but sub 6K, because there's a lot of players in that 5K, sub 6K range that are kind of popping.
Yeah, Karis LeVert would be one. He's 5,600 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. Brandon Williams is 5,700 on FanDuel. That's pretty interesting. Derek White's 5,300. I think that's appealing. You got this pack of guys from Indy and Portland: Ellaby, Anderson, Terry Taylor, Chris Dunn, all really, like high-end value plays. These are all guys that I'm naming that are in my top 20. So like there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. All right.
I am getting to the point where I don't have the ability to do anything other than export a crunch that's not done.
Who would you rather have? And I think I know your answer is going to be clear, but Pogochevsky or Şengün at power forward? Clear Pogochevsky for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about how much Nikola Jokic are you landing on?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I'm not going to know until I click submit.
Fair enough.
I don't even have like a really good crunch in right now. I'm 360 lineups short of where I want to be. I'm basically just copying and pasting whatever I have right now, and I'm going to find out in a couple seconds what I actually have.
I'm interested to see where Elijah Hughes ownership comes in at as well.
I definitely have Jokic, if that helps.
Yeah, I would think so.
All right, let me just upload this, and then I could hit refresh and then maybe try to save whatever I've got going on here. But
and there are 3 7 p.m. games. Jokic is in those games. So, man,
right.
this is going to be an insane slate.
All right, 150 lineups uploaded successfully. So now I could actually look and see what I just put in because I don't know. Jokic. Holy shit, where is he? 42%, and we have him projected for 38% ownership on FanDuel.
Wow, okay. It's a good amount.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Karis LeVert is my most exposed player on FanDuel. That makes perfect sense to me. He's starting and he's 4,900. So,
and also, I mean, you had JB Bickerstaff saying he wants his starters to play huge minutes, and then he just put LeVert into the starting lineup. So,
I do not have a lot of Alperen Şengün today.
Yeah, I think it's one of those spots where on any other slate, especially with power forward eligibility, he would be a really, really appealing play. I guess he just I guess he's a casualty of this slate in some sense.
I mean, like, I don't think that the ownership is crazy on him. So I can't even, like, he's 5,900. I went to more Drew Eubanks than I went to Şengün. I went to more Poku at 6,300 than I went to Şengün. I think reasonably you can consider those guys equal if you wanted to, and that would get you to more Şengün. I just didn't happen to get there. So I paid up for Bam. I paid up for Pascal Siakam, sort of, but I only have 16% of him on FanDuel. Most of my power forward exposure is going to Eubanks, Poku, and Bam. I'm getting to Jalen Smith a little bit. So the guy that I'm not getting to on FanDuel that is getting ownership is Daniel Tice at 3,800. I don't regret that at all.
No,
there's too much value now.
Yeah, that's true. And he's only center eligible. On DraftKings, he's only center eligible, but
he has the power forward eligibility on FanDuel. But at this moment right now, based on where I have his target score at 37 fantasy points, even at 3,800. That's a tall order for Tice.
Yeah.
Like a low salary guy today needs a lot more than he normally does.
Right. Well, we have hit lock at 7:00. That was another whirlwind of shit. I mean, we haven't been able to escape it, which is perfectly fine. And I like shows like that at least because, you know, you're never, not that either of us would be anyway, but never pressed for stuff to say.
No.
All right. So
Whew.
I think when you're looking at this slate, one thing, wow, Jokic in the big 15 on the big fadeaway on DraftKings. What do you think his ownership is? He's 12-2.
More than you would expect.
47.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a testament to how much value's out there.
For a guy on a 9-game slate.
Oh shit, I never even made that Sacramento change.
What, the Alex Len?
Yeah.
I'm
I
assuming
mean, not like I got to Len, but
you probably wouldn't have got, Jeremy Grant's out the rest of the year.
shocked. I might have got a little bit of Damian Jones. I don't know.
I don't know how much he is on fan. The 5K on DraftKings against Miami with all the value was like, yeah, but I still think he was interesting. I still think it made him interesting.
It made him more interesting. Yeah, I don't think that I would have got him, but I just realized now that I didn't actually make that change. Nah, I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. Trae Young's 29%.
I'll tell you what, if our ownership is correct today and Jordan Poole is 16% owned on FanDuel at 7,800, that is a spot that I'm very, very happy to be miles over the field.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I have 45% Poole. We have him at 16% ownership. I could not be happier with that.
I was saying to Adam this morning, with his volume of shooting right now, with his usage and the massive minutes that he's playing, there is no question that even on a bad game yesterday shooting, he shot dismally, right? Shot 10% from 3, 1 of 10, still dropped 40 plus fantasy points. Like that's what you're getting from someone like that right now, just because of the crazy volume. You know what else is wild? Halliburton, I understand it was very tough to get to him, but 2% owned.
He's 9,200, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to get to him, but
I got 26% of them on FanDuel at 7,500. I feel pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's just such a different price here. Yep. I'm looking to see it. LeVert's 15% on DraftKings. Sounds about right. There's plenty of other guys there.
I forget that Terry Taylor's a shooting guard on FanDuel. God, that's so stupid.
It's nuts. I wonder what Murray's going to come in at.
A lot, I would imagine. Wow. In the tournament that I'm looking at on FanDuel right now, it's a 150 max, 67.5% to Jokic.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. He should nuke Charlotte, but
it's a
I don't mind being a little
spot.
light. Yeah. 67's a lot on a 9-gamer.
Yeah. Terry Taylor. I'm wondering how, like Terry Taylor is insanely low owned, but he's not starting. This could really be one of those games where Sykes plays like 15 minutes and then Taylor ends up playing 30 plus.
Terry Taylor is 3.8% owned on FanDuel at 4,200 shooting guard, by the way. I have just a hair more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And by just a hair, I mean 7 times the field.
So not just a hair.
I have 27%.
He's 7% on DraftKings. It's just crazy numbers.
I'm more than okay with it.
I think he should be. Somebody asked, hold on one second. Someone asked, what do you think of Oladipo?
Unplayable.
On this slate, you do not want to get Oladipo.
On every slate, you do not want to. I don't think I want to get to Oladipo if he's in a showdown.
You probably would, because he'd be like, the only reason I said on this slate is because I don't know if Oladipo is like 35. I didn't even look. I don't even know what his price is.
No, he is unplayable on a day like today.
Yeah. Let's see how much he costs.
He's 3,700 on FanDuel and 5,600 on DraftKings. He is literally unplayable on DK.
He's unplayable.
If you have him in any lineup on DraftKings today, you shouldn't play DFS. On FanDuel at 3,700, okay.
Right. He's unplayable on DK on a 2-game slate at that price. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. 3,700 on FanDuel, you're getting into that, then I could see it. Maybe he's talking about FanDuel. Jaren Jackson's out. If this Brandon Clark news pops, that changes things, Josh, a lot.
Ooh, okay. Well, I have 5% of Jaren Jackson Jr., so let's swap that asshole out. Glad I don't have a lot.
We need this Brandon Clark news, though.
Yeah. Truth. Whoa, Max Strus is starting?
He is? Oh, yeah.
Sure. I mean, didn't see that one coming.
Wait, Lowry, Strus, Butler, Tucker. I still don't think it makes a huge difference.
No, I think he's in for like 20 to 22 minutes at best. All right. So if Jaren Jackson Jr. is out,
which he is,
who do I want to give? Like, who do I want to swap that to?
Well, who knows?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
If we don't have, so I'm not saying, okay. Let's look at it this way, right? So you have Clark getting the backup minutes behind Steven Adams.
Yeah.
But if he's out with Jaren Jackson, then you have to reassign those backup minutes for Adams, and then you have no Jackson in the starting lineup either.
Is Tillman's available, right?
Xavier Tillman should be available. Last I looked, he was, yeah.
I mean, he's easy. If Brandon Clark's out, Tillman's just the backup center. It becomes not interesting.
Right. So
for that piece.
So do we just get like a boatload of Kyle Anderson?
You can get a lot more Kyle Anderson pretty easily. I think that you probably get a little bit more Zaire Williams. And then I think probably a decent chunk of Santi Aldama. See, the thing here that is interesting is you see Jaren Jackson's out and you're like, oh, that opens up a ton. Dude doesn't really play a lot. So it's not as if somebody's fallen into 34 minutes now. This is a guy that you're probably projecting for at most 28. And it doesn't unlock as much as it seems, especially for a team that has like 15 real NBA players.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but what I would expect is Kyle Anderson to start. It could, I mean,
assuming Clark is out.
Well, that's the thing. With Jackson out, you don't think Kyle Anderson would start for him?
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't.
Who do you think it would be? Like, I think he's the obvious option. Doesn't mean it'll be him, but I think Kyle Anderson would be the obvious option.
Zaire Williams?
Maybe.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, look, I'm going to give Kyle Anderson 28 minutes right now, and he's going to become very interesting. I don't think it's all that interesting, though, if I'm just talking out loud.
Any chance Clark starts and plays and starts alongside Adams and Tillman just gets the backup 5 minutes?
Yes.
I think so too. We've seen it before.
Yeah. Look, these guys the reason they're so good is because they're so interchangeable. They can move these pieces around and, they're playing a Golden State team that's missing their 3 best players.
Yeah.
They're 10+ point favorites. Like, I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Memphis doesn't matter as much, even if those guys are out.
If Kyle Anderson's starting, he becomes interesting.
Agreed.
He's 4,400 and 4,500 on FanDuel and DraftKings. If Kyle Anderson is starting, he's the best play on Memphis.
I want to look up. I do want to look up because I know that Jaren Jackson doesn't play a ton of minutes. But he did play 33 last game for what it's worth. But usually it's like that 28 range. But he's not a particularly low usage player. Let's see. If you take Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson off the floor this year.
Buckle up.
Add more funds has been wonky. Dylan Brooks.
Stop using it.
29.3% usage. Desmond Bane, 29.2% usage. Melton, 26%. So a lot of these guys are similar. Fantasy point per minute with Jaren Jackson and Moranoff. Mind you, not a ton of minutes for these guys, but Bain 1.21, that's solid. Adams 1.2, Melton 1.18. These guys are so similar is the problem. Clark 1.14. They're so similar, Josh.
I'll tell you what, that Jaren Jackson news really makes me happy about the amount of Jordan Poole I have.
I don't know how you wouldn't love Jordan Poole today.
I agree.
Thanks, Kahiba, if I pronounced that right. Okay, 28 likes away from 1,000. Yeah, we're getting there.
Bang.
Appreciate it. Last man in on DraftKings from my filler arc super chat. Last man in on DraftKings. Forward, Kim Bucket or Grant Williams?
Wait, who?
Who's Kim Bucket?
I assume he's trying to say Bucket.
Kuminga. Do you think it auto-corrected Kuminga?
Maybe.
Wait, who was
not with a K.
What do you mean?
Well, it would be with a C. It's not going to auto-correct to a K.
It's spelled with a K.
Right, but, if you were spelling it, it's not important. I don't know what the answer is.
He said
so
Kim Bucket, not Cum Bucket.
Right. Well, that's how I would. I mean, that's his nickname. His nickname is Cum Bucket.
Oh, you're saying that he might have tried the nickname. Got you. But he wouldn't have. It wouldn't have got. Okay, now I'm following.
Good. We're good.
Now I'm following.
Now the question is:
Kuminga it's clearly
Grant
Kuminga.
Williams?
Clearly Kuminga.
I assume that's true.
They're $200 apart.
I mean, I haven't looked at DraftKings at all, so I legitimately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have no
I thought he said FanDuel.
I thought it was DraftKings.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So I just don't know anything. So Kuminga 24/7, Boston, Grant Williams. It's not even close. Kuminga.
Yeah. And if it helps, you look at our boom bust tool. Give you a peek behind the curtain here. We have Kuminga as with a 27% optimal probability, Josh. That's second highest on the entire slate.
Yeah.
He has a 6.7% leverage score, which is not something you see very often. I can tell you that right now.
No.
It's the second highest leverage score on the entire slate. I don't think I need to go much further there. Like, it's just a clear and obvious answer. There's no two ways around it. Kuminga, very good play today.
All right. I have swapped out Jaren Jackson, so that is easy.
Yahoo Fantasy too. For those of you guys that tuned in late, use that promo in the link or the one that Jordan's going to throw in the chat right now. Get a free month of Awesemo Plus, Platinum, everything on the site, every sport, every single tool that we have for the month for every sport. And you can use them all for Yahoo as well. So if you haven't done that yet, all you got to do is use the link in the description or that one Jordan just put in. Deposit $10. They'll give you $10 back in free play. You enter a paid contest. Bing, bang, boom, you're in. And you got a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum and a great site to play DFS on. All right. So Jordan Nelson's Laffy, tiny bit slow on the intake today. I just had no idea what he was talking about with that. So I guess I'm slow. Oh, yeah, dude. It's probably, it's Cum Bucket. They just spell it with a K.
Yeah, I know how I know how it's spelled for him.
So what's the autocorrect you're talking about then?
I don't know what your autocorrect. You think KUM turned to KIM?
Yes.
I don't know.
Wait.
I don't really care.
No. But of course
I don't know how we're still talking about this.
Hold on. Of course KUM turned to KIM.
I don't know. I type Cum Bucket a lot, so it's everything to me.
With a K?
Yes.
All right. Hold on. I'm going to do it right now.
Straight to Kim.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Sure.
Someone
It
said,
also makes no sense. I don't care what it was.
all right. Someone said Laffy is an old man. No, not really.
Jokes aside, it's way easier if you guys just type the correct names in the easiest possible way for us to answer those questions.
I would completely agree with that. But I mean, chat's acting like I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot over here. I'm saying nothing wrong.
Right. No.
Okay. Someone said, looks like I haven't seen the sun in weeks. I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, this shirt's got to go in the garbage because every time I turn this on, I look translucent.
Oh, well, it doesn't help that your background's green too.
That's a good point. I'm just like a ghost.
You're just a head.
It's not good.
No.
All right. So we have 14 minutes to go. Are there any other spots that we even need to hit on right now? Are there any other spots that we need to get to for teams that we haven't talked about yet? Or Scott said, I never heard that nickname on the Warriors broadcast. No, I can't imagine you did. I think we covered like everything.
I agree.
So let me do this. Since you rudely interrupted me last time I was doing the Mike Trout raid.
I did my job. You should try it.
What piece of news was that for? I feel like it wasn't even important.
Kiefer Sykes was starting over Terry Taylor.
It's mildly important. Yeah, Adi, we talked about Jaren Jackson. We just talked about it for a while, actually. If you go back a few minutes, we just talked. Assuming you're talking about Jaren Jackson, yeah. 25% off. Use the promo code Trout, or just go to awesemo.com/promos. 25% off everything the entire year of basketball or baseball. Sorry, baseball. All right, should we do it? Should we just spend a couple minutes on last night and
sure.
get? I'm curious of chat's opinion too. Should get interesting. Jordan, buckle your seatbelt, fella. He just threw his earpods out. Jordan, so someone just asked me today if someone came up to Justine, my wife Justine, and at a bar, and like insulted her, would I slap him across the face? So if someone comes up and is like, hey, let me ride that hog, right? And not a hog, by the way, but someone just assumed she was and said that. Would I go at that? Would I respond? One, probably depends how big they are.
Yeah, sure.
Two. No, I mean you got to calculate, right?
Yeah.
I call a spade here. Two, stop acting like that is even remotely close to a comedian being on stage and saying something, albeit out of line. Maybe, like, I don't know the background there. Apparently there's some history. It was still a joke. Did it land? Well, I mean, the audience lost their minds. Apparently it did. It's still, you can't, it's not apples for apples, Josh. Someone random person coming up to you in a bar and doing that, or being at like an awards show and making a joke.
Well, I mean, even in that situation in the bar, like, how's the guy saying it to begin with? How angry is he? Is he joking? Like, there's a way around that one too. But let's be very, and I said this in Discord, I'm going to say it again here. The joke wasn't offensive. Wasn't a diss. Wasn't a slight. Wasn't anything. G.I. Jane was the #1 movie in America when it came out. We're not talking about like a movie that is a farce that you'd be like disgusted to be a part of. He didn't insult her for not having hair. There's no connotation to her not having hair that is negative in what he said at all. Does not exist in that statement. They are putting on a connotation that her not having hair is somehow a slight. It isn't. And he didn't even make a slight about it. Starring in G.I. Jane would be good for her. That would be a good role to get.
By the way, Chad saying that the joke did not land. Maybe I need to turn the volume
It's
up.
a throwaway line to Chris Rock, to him.
Yeah, and someone just told me to do my research that she lost her hair from. I know she had alopecia. I'm well aware of that. But
why does that matter?
But the man stuff, also the part that I think makes. Let me tell you, and let me tell you the part that I think makes Will Smith look absurdly bad. Okay.
The fact that when he said it, he laughed uncontrollably.
Yes. He
Yeah.
thought it was funny. And then he looked over and saw that she wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, and then walked.
Because he understood the intent.
Right. He understood the intent.
I'm shocked that Chris Rock made jokes when he was paid to make jokes.
You know what? To me, it's such a silly thought that anything like that would provoke walking up on stage and doing that.
If he would have made a joke about some of the issues that they have had in their marriage to their faces, I still think they're wrong. He's wrong for what he did, but it would make a whole lot more sense.
Yep. I also think too, if Will Smith was just like, hey, that's fucked up, Chris, something like that, and scream that a couple times, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
all right, make him kind of look like an asshole, because I don't know. I don't know if he knew I'm not going to get into the story behind it.
Why would he know? Why do people just assume that he would know? Like everybody just know. Like
they're acting like he was
blurbs about her health. Like he might just not know. Who gives a shit? Why would he care?
Did you know that? Did you know
I had no idea.
Right.
And I also wouldn't care. I feel bad for her if she feels bad about her condition. She shouldn't have to. Like, she's hair. But if she feels bad, I feel bad for her for feeling bad. That sucks for her. He didn't slight her. He didn't call her like Curly of the Three Stooges. I made the other reference in our Discord. He didn't say like, oh, are you trying to play Dr. Evil in the new Austin Powers movie?
No, chat's flying.
G.I. Jane is a that is a positive role for her to get, not a negative.
Courtney, I'm trying to do 1,000 things at once here. Bear with me, okay? Sometimes I have to, sometimes I have to be calculated in what I say as well. That's, how things go around here. Jordan, can I mention, where is it? Is it on? Hold on. Is it in the run sheet? What? Okay, hold on. Awesemo bets over on Twitter at Awesemo bet. The free bet of the day is up. Get in there. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Awesemo bets, AWESEMO BETS at Awesemo bets is up, and it's the free bet of the day. Okay. I find it so odd. Hold on. Did we? 1 second. Just wanted to make sure we didn't have any news. I thought we had news come in.
We didn't.
I find it so odd that people are so invested in this.
It's so weird to me.
Balkanizing against each other over, like, even, you know what I'm thinking? Even if I'm wrong, even if you were wrong, let's just say you were objectively wrong. Who gives a shit?
I'm talking about it because it's fun to talk about stuff.
That's what I mean.
If we're not on this show, like, this is not a part of any discussion in my life. I don't care at all how any of it happened. I wasn't watching. I mentioned it to my wife in passing, and then that's it. The fact that we have jobs where we create content and talk on the internet, this is right up the alley of you and I just shooting the shit. It just happens to be news.
Right.
I don't care at all how it shakes out.
I didn't tweet about it once. I take it to here and just piss people off. But why would it piss people off? Why? I swear no allegiance to Chris Rock or Will Smith. And I think for the most part, Jamie said he didn't even know till we brought it up on the strategy show. Hey, who gives a shit, man? I think most Hollywood stars are the most out of touch people on this earth right now. I said it to Adam this morning. The moment you start making a music video with a bunch of you collaborating during COVID, telling everyone to stay inside and singing some Beatles song, like, we should take anything you say while you lay out there in your jacuzzi in your perfect 80-degree, 75-degree weather in Beverly Hills. But these people, great actors and actresses, love their movies, don't give a shit what they say when they're not acting.
No,
at
agreed.
all.
No,
I'm
totally with you. going back to the beginning part of the show, like I really do think something negative should happen to Will Smith.
You do, huh?
Like from a, you can't just physically assault people. You just can't in any walk of life. Like you just can't do that. Somebody was like, "Oh, what about in baseball games when they charge the mound?" And yeah, that should be a problem too. You shouldn't be able to fist fight people at your workplace. These are jobs to a degree. This is different. It's an award show. It should be a problem. You shouldn't be allowed to hit people.
And someone called me an old man. You just said you shouldn't be able to charge the mound.
I agree. You shouldn't.
I'm all about an old mound charge.
Baseball.
Okay, hold on a second. The problem with that is you cannot. It's very difficult to define intent when it comes to throwing a ball at somebody's head. You can always say it was an accident, but even if your guy got plunked the inning before that, right? And then you come in and you throw a heater head high that almost cracks him in the face, which could do, permanent irreparable damage in some cases. We know that. So you charge the mound there, it's intentional. You come in, you get a good shot and you're still in the wrong, even though you in your gut, it was intentional.
Look,
I'm just asking. I think that's a fair way to phrase this.
It's an edge case though. Like, I think the person throwing at him's a piece of garbage too. I can't deal with that though.
But then it's like it's mutual combat.
It's not mutual combat.
It's consensual.
Though. No, it's not like they're getting out there and everybody like backs up and these two have like a brouhaha. No, he goes out there and spears him or punches him in the face and there's 90 guys fighting each other.
Nothing ever happens, by the way. It's always awful. Like baseball.
I don't know about nothing. You get those like Robin Ventura, Nolan Ryan joints.
Right, but how long? Yeah, but that's your first mention and that was a long time ago.
I don't know. Puig hit somebody, right?
Who?
Didn't Puig punch somebody? I don't know. I don't watch baseball because it sucks.
I thought Puig
That's a different thing.
Didn't Puig chase Didn't Puig chase somebody around?
I think so.
Oh, I do remember Amir Garrett. Yeah. But didn't Amir Garrett have a lot of like off-field issues as well? Wasn't Amir Garrett?
I don't even remember who Amir Garrett is.
Really?
No.
Wasn't he?
I don't even know which sport you mean.
I thought Amir Garrett was a righty for the Reds for a while. Well, got that wrong. Okay, so he was the Reds, but he was a lefty. Okay.
I don't even remember who you're talking about.
He started some games too, I thought. Started some games. Anyway. So
you can't hit people. You just can't.
What do you think the consequences for Mr. Will Smith should be?
Some sort of sizable fine and community service.
Okay. Should he be allowed back at the next, what was that, the Oscars?
Yeah, no. And the reason that I say that is that apparently they have some sort of code of conduct. I assume this doesn't land. Punching or slapping someone at their own event doesn't land inside of like a pro code of conduct thing. I assume the answer should be no.
But it is also dumb though. I think people are like, where was security? I'll be honest, if I'm
security's not running out there and beating him before he gets to Chris Rock.
But not just that. If I'm security in that case, I'm gonna be like, oh, he's going to come up and play off something, or maybe it's part of the show. Like, if you're, do you know how much of an asshole you look like if you're security and you restrain Will Smith when actually he wasn't going to do anything? You look like you look like a bigger asshole than Will Smith did after last night.
Security's not even thinking I should walk towards Will Smith right now. They're like, no, it's Will Smith. He's not a stranger. No one's ever walked up onto the stages during an award show in this regard and just smacked another celebrity across the face. There's not exactly a giant precedent here for people to understand what's going on.
Right. Someone made a really funny joke that I wish I could say it on here. It was, I think I actually, I think I texted it to you, Jordan, today. What was it? No, it's honestly not even bad, but people get.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I saw that one.
Someone said, like, good thing Chris Rock didn't insult Alec Baldwin's wife.
Yeah. Hilaria or whatever the hell her name is.
Oh man, people.
Yeah, I wish the joke was an actual negative joke.
So what you're saying is you don't think your problem is the assault, but also the fact that you don't even think it was an offensive joke.
I don't. I really don't. Like, I don't even think it's borderline offensive. I don't think he slighted her at all. He noticed her appearance and just made the one joke you would make about a woman with no hair and a reference to a movie of a woman with no hair.
Yeah.
Like the way that Chris Rock described, like when he said it on the stage, it's a G.I. Jane joke. And like, I completely agree with that. Again, I feel bad for her if she feels bad. Like, she's not wrong in not liking that joke. I completely agree with that. A physical altercation is not the answer to it.
Right. Oh, no, of course not. Hey, Aaron Gordon has 17, 5, and 2 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah. And a steal.
My goodness.
I have 3% of him, so let's go find out if how owned he is. Spoiler alert, the answer is going to be more than I want him to be. Yeah, 5% owned.
Has Jada Pinkett Smith always had short hair?
She had short hair for a lot of her career.
Yeah.
Some of it long, some of it short.
I don't know these things.
But she has. And like, again, I feel bad for her if this is an issue for her. I feel like there's a lot of people in the acting industry that are not always wearing their own hair.
Yeah. Sorry, did I say third quarter? I meant, you guys know I meant first quarter. Yeah, I don't got to correct everything I say around there. We know it's the first quarter. Come on. Brandon Clark's available to play.
Good to know. What did I have Aaron Gordon's target score at on FanDuel?
Trae Young has 7 assists in the first quarter so far. That's good. Let's see what all right, so Terry Taylor and Jalen Smith have already played 4 minutes each in the first quarter. That's significant. Goga played 6 minutes. Sykes played 9, but he has 2 fouls.
Good. All of that is great. Great news.
All right, man. Well, everyone seems to. Yo, let me just say for the first time, Adi Yogi, you're right.
So I have seen some things where, and I don't know how this applies to her. I have seen some things that it could be potentially painful.
Okay.
So like,
what you're saying is you don't think he knew.
I mean, I can't imagine. I don't think that, at the very least, I don't think that it was like something that he would actively recall.
Because making fun of a medical condition is definitely messed up. Like that. It is in front of a lot of people. No, it is.
Sure.
Right. Especially not at the Oscars where it's like, you don't do that. If this was intentional. Yeah.
Josh is walking nothing back. I agree with 100% of every single thing that came out of my mouth here.
That's good because you said it.
Yeah, I'm not walking anything back at all. The only victim in all of this is her and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
She is fully allowed to take offense to that. She just is. Yeah. I don't think she should. I don't think it was offensive, but she can. No one else should be offended for her. That's insane.
Josh, what a show.
Like, Jimmy Jam, Josh equals the best heel.
I love that. You don't mind. That's not a bit.
This is nothing that I've said about this Will Smith stuff is a bit. This is legitimately how I feel.
But it's even crazier that like people could get offended by you saying it wasn't offensive. Like that's, the whole chain reaction here is instead, one thing about being like, oh, no, I thought it was offensive. All right, move on, part ways, go our separate ways. It's okay. Instead, it's like, and I'm not talking about chat, but there are people right now, like there are people that would be offended by the idea that someone didn't find it offensive. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And I don't care at all about their like extramarital issues, and like none of that has any tie to this.
No, because everyone was saying Will got cucked and everything. Did you see that? Did you see that tweet from Tom Segura? Man, that was vicious.
Yeah, I retweeted a Jim Norton one. That was fantastic.
I saw him live in AC once at the Borgata. It was fun.
I saw him in Philly.
What's up?
I saw him in Philly.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Norton's a good guy.
the tweet. Oh God, can I find it quickly before we get out of here? At this point, Will Smith being a cuck is the only thing I truly respect about him.
Oh God.
That's some Norton stuff, though.
These are comedians. And everyone was saying like comedians were butthurt over this. I don't think they were. I think it was just like amazing material to start ripping off some jokes. And guess what? You don't need to find those jokes funny. Right. It's okay.
I mean, I think they're all really angry that Will Smith is just going to get off scot-free from assaulting Chris Rock.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But I think there's also plenty of them that are just taking this as an opportunity to make jokes as they would with literally any event that is on the front page for a full day and a half, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's every single one of them is like licking their chops thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to make all sorts of amazing jokes about this. That is for sure. For sure.
Like Dane said, comedians make fun of people for a living. Get over. Yeah. And again, like, is it different that I don't know, dude. It's 7:37. We got to go. I can't believe it's that late.
Let's get the hell out of here so I can go eat dinner.
Appreciate you guys as always. You're the best. Even those who, don't always see eye to eye. That's okay. I don't want everyone to agree with me. That'd make one hell of a shitty world, Josh.
I just want people to understand that it's not okay to hit people.
Yeah. Well,
for some reason that's lost in everybody here.
Guess it depends who you are, right? Apparently.
I guess. I don't know.
Shout out to Jordan Klein, as always, producing the show. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow on the Live Before Lock show. Deeper dive, locks before lock, live before lock, all that good stuff for a Tuesday slate. Good luck tonight. We'll catch you back here soon. Peace.